Peace, everybody. It's the Lord here in Cold World, and I'm over here kicking it with my main man, J-WIGG. What's good, Brody?
What's good, Brody?
Can't call it, man. We here for another episode here. Toast to all the Brodies out there. Before we get started, as usual, we want to thank everybody out there for supporting the platforms. We are over 5,000 views and counting. So definitely appreciate the support. If you're not following us, you need to follow us at Brodie Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube. We're also on TikTok as well. Just type in Brodie Sports Talk and show your love and support, man. So we definitely appreciate that. But to go ahead and get started, we're going to start with our usual opening take here. We're going to do something a little different here today with the opening take for the Brodies out there. We are going to be doing our top five power rankings. Okay. Now, these five teams, Wiggs and I have decided on. We think these are the top five teams in the league. And honestly, going to be favored to, contend for the title. So to go ahead and get started, I'm going to go ahead and do my first take here, Wiggs. The first team that I have is the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, they're undefeated. They're the only team that hasn't been beaten. They're going to be number one, plain and simple. They have Patrick Mahomes. They have a stout defense. Now they have a receiver in D Hop, and obviously Kelsey is still doing his thing. So give me the Chiefs for the top ranking team. Following them, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens here, they are my pick for the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson's playing at an MV3 level. The defense isn't that good, but him and Derrick Henry are virtually unstoppable. And I think if they continue on with this formula of just giving the ball to 22 and feeding off of him, don't see any reason why they can't make a title run. The third team I have here is going to be the Detroit Lions. Now, some may say after last week's performance, they should not be in the top five, but the reality is, even with 5 interceptions from Jared Goff, they still pulled off a W. They're the best team in the NFC. So outside of the Commanders, maybe the Green Bay Packers, I really don't see too many other teams in the NFC making a run to the Super Bowl outside of those three. So give me the Detroit Lions for number 3. Number 4, I got the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is also performing at an MVP caliber level. Their defense is pretty decent. Their wide receiver core has upgraded with Amari Cooper, and James Cook is still running the ball pretty well. So that window is closing. So I think Josh Allen has a little bit of a sense of urgency. So give me the Bills for number 4. And to round off the top 5 for me, they beat the Commanders last week. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson is cooking, and they're running on all cylinders on defense as well. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers for ranking number 5. Who you got, Wiggs?
Man, what a list, Cole. You almost went 5 for 5. Man, so like you said, this is our list, but this is kind of your list. We were gonna talk about the list before we got on, and you said let's wait, let's save
I
it for the
want the
show.
exclusive.
Man, this is a good list. So you got 4 out of 5 that I have, and you have them in
Okay.
the same order. So 1, Chiefs, love it. 2, Ravens. The only team that I think can beat the Chiefs in a playoff setting is the Chiefs. The only team that I think can beat the Ravens is the Chiefs in a
Yeah.
playoff setting. So I got the Ravens number 2. Like you said, if they keep giving the ball to number 22, and as long as Lamar is running this offense, I don't see the Ravens really being stopped. Unless again, you know who I think the heel is John Harbaugh, and how many times he hands the ball off to Lamar. We'll get to that later in the show, but yep, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, number 3. I love it. I'm in complete agreement with you right there. And this is when I know you kind of veered off the path. You mentioned a few teams in the NFC that are the top teams. The Lions are definitely one of those teams. The Commanders are definitely one of those teams. You forgot one team, the team that the Commanders are playing this week, the Eagles.
Okay.
I will put the Eagles at number 4 after the Lions.
Okay.
So this is something, I'm not going to get too in depth right here, but this is something that I feel like it's one of the things that the media does. The only reason we're not thinking about the Eagles is because the media is not talking about the Eagles. The media wants you to think that don't have a good coaching. The media just wants you to focus on some of the bigger names like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. But the Eagles have a really good team. Jalen Hurts is 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, and not just 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, but some say he played to the same level as Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. They came down to, I think, just a couple of the final plays. So the Eagles are definitely a team to be reckoned with. I have them at number 4. That's the only place that I deviate on my standings, and then I come right back at number 5 to the Steelers. Like you said, they just beat the Commanders. I wanted to put the Commanders at 5. I
I
really,
would have put them. I would have put them at 5 too, but they lost. So
but
it
they
is what it
lost.
is.
Exactly. So I'm not gonna have confirmation bias and put the Commanders over the Steelers. The Steelers won. I'm not gonna be one of those fans that say my team lost the game, but we're still better. No, we lost the game. We're not better than the Steelers. We might be down the road, but right now we just lost. I'm not gonna say we're better than them. So I got the Steelers at number 5. And just to kind of let's get into it a little bit, Cole. Since this is our opening take, you have the Bills at 4. I have the Eagles at 4. What do you think about my surprise at 4?
I think that's a good pick. I mean, if you're going to talk about the NFC teams as far as the teams that can possibly make it, I definitely have the Eagles up there because if we don't win the division, it's going to be them. The problem with them is their coaching. I don't like Nick Sirianni. I think he is a bonehead. He takes points off of the board with bonehead plays and decisions. He's arguing with the fans and the crowd. It's already been documented that him and Jalen Hurts don't get along. And I think when it matters, I think he's going to shoot himself in the foot. But in the regular season, I think it's kind of hard for them to mess things up now. They're doing well. It seems like they're hitting their stride. Their wide receivers are healthy. Their defense is still pretty solid. So I think just from a regular season standpoint, they should be able to put together 10 to 12 wins just like us. It's going to fall down to who wins. This is going to be a very, very important game for both teams because the winner of the series is going to win the division. And I think if they end up splitting, then it's going to come down to like that one-off game, like a game that's like outside of the division or something like that later on down the road. But yeah, I like that pick. It's very solid. Between them and the Bills, I don't think there's a wrong answer there. So I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I do like the Bills at the number 4 spot that you have them at. I think again, it's a quarterback league. I don't think you can go wrong with Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen right now. Both of these guys can run. We said it last week about the rookies that use their feet. The rookies that use their feet, their legs, they have an advantage. Jalen Hurts, I think I just saw something about him being in the 2020 league, 20 rushing touchdowns, 20 passing touchdowns. I think this is like a one-of-a-kind league that he might be in as far as that stat goes. So that just shows you, Jalen Hurts is one of those players that utilizes the modern quarterback play. And Josh Allen is one of those guys too. I think he had a rushing touchdown last week. He really does whatever the Bills need him to do to win. So I do like the Bills at 4. I like the Steelers at 5. What do you think about? We just played the Steelers. I guess we'll get into it a little bit later. Let's save the Steelers Commanders analysis. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh yes, sir.
But do you? Let me ask you this: do you have the Commanders at 6? Are they right after the Steelers? Do you have somebody? Okay, I think I agree with that. It might be a little confirmation bias. We might be a little homers. We might be being fans right now, but I think I like the Commanders at 6.
Yeah, I'll keep them at number 6 mainly because they're still on paper a better offense than the Eagles, and they're only they're only in first place because they played one less game than us. They're 7-2, we're 7-3. So that's the only reason why they're in first place to me. But yeah, number six or arguably number seven, because I do have the Eagles in my top 10 as well. So they can kind of swap out. This game is going to determine where that ranking will be for them. I would say right now, give me the Skins at six or Commanders at six and the Eagles at seven. And whoever wins, we'll just swap them out.
I like that. I mean, I think that's definitely how it should be. I saw one of the media analysts. They were doing their top 10 list, and they had the Commanders at 10 and the Cardinals at 9. And I'm like, this list is fraudulent already because the Commanders already beat the Cardinals.
Exactly.
So
Crushed them too.
yeah,
So
so it's
yeah,
like if your list doesn't take on head to head, your list means nothing. It's just like we started our list off. The Chiefs are ahead of the Ravens. One, the Chiefs are undefeated. I don't care how bad they look, they're undefeated. And the Ravens lost to the Chiefs. So you can't put the
period.
Ravens, as good as the Ravens look, as good as the Ravens offense looks. They lost the head to head to the Chiefs. You can't put them ahead of the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are undefeated.
Exactly.
So they
Exactly.
got to be number one. You got to give them their respect.
Yep. And I think on top of that, just from a side note, I think the masses have not come to grips with the fact that we are legit this year. So they tend to have that old biased opinion that the Skins are trash, and it's like, dude, they are legit this year. You can't discredit them. You can't put a team that they lost that beat them ahead of them. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yep.
So there we go. Brody's out there. It's the top five power rankings. We'll obviously recalibrate them as the weeks go along. But again, if you're not following us here, you need to follow us at Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube, also on TikTok. And click on the bottom right hand corner on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Again, we're at 5,000 views and counting in just 3 weeks. It's amazing. So definitely appreciate that, y'all. Now, moving right along, we got our games of the week, the recap and review. So I'll go ahead and start off with the results. If you haven't been watching, we've been keeping up with our records here. So far, not too bad of a start for myself, but a great start for Wiggs. He's 7-1 so far. I'm 5-3. So what we're looking at here is we got the Bengals and Ravens game. We were both correct on that. We chose the Ravens. Then we both went with actually no, with the Steelers and Commanders. I chose the Steelers. You chose the Commanders. Then for the Eagles Cowboys, we both agreed with the Eagles. And then with the Dolphins and Rams, you were right with the Dolphins, and I was wrong with the Rams. Now, hell of a game with that Dolphins and Rams game. Hell of a game. I mean, a 1 point. A 23-15 win. I honestly did not expect the Dolphins defense to be that stout, but they came to play. Give them credit where credit is due. As far as the Steelers and Commanders game, I mean, I, I would say they didn't beat us. We lost the game. And I say that because of senseless mistakes, drop passes, wide open. Jaden Daniels arguably had his worst game of the season, even though he had a pretty decent game. It was still his worst game of the season. He was missing throws. I think the defense was a little bit too stout for him and had him on the happy feet mode. But you got drop passes, muff punts, offsides when the ball's right in front of you, just simple mistakes that are like textbook football 1-on-1. Not to really discredit the Steelers or Russell Wilson. They played well. They contained Jaden. I think he only had like 3 yards rushing. So not to take credit
Mm,
away from them,
mm.
but let's be honest here. We were up 10 points until we started, slipping. And we had a chance to win it, and we blew the opportunity. And I think that's something that comes with a young team that is performing ahead of expectation too early. And there's still subtle signs of that young team that's still messing. So they're still making those simple mistakes like offsides. I mean, that's football 1-on-1. You know the snap count. Why are you jumping off sides? If you're on defense, the ball is right in front of you. Why is there an encroachment? No excuse. But at the same time, it's a lot of pressure, and I'll save the rest of it for the game take. But I really feel like that was a game we should have won. It wasn't an excruciating loss, but I think with the Skins fans having PTSD, any loss, we're just going to revert back. Oh God, we're going to be trash again, and like it's okay. We're 7-3, y'all. If you could tell me that in November we'd be playing a meaningful game and we'd be 7-3, I'd take it all time. Pause.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
were you able to listen to any of the radio shows this week? What were the fans saying? That was a great point you made at the end. What were some of the fans saying? Did you hear anything like, "Is the sky falling in DC?" Just give me a little bit of that. What you heard, or like you said, just what you think as a fan.
So one of the biggest things that I heard was Jaden could have been hurt. That's the reason why he wasn't running as much as
Mm,
he normally
the
does, and he
ribs.
was off with his passing because of his rib. Now
Mm,
we're in week 10 going on week 11. Nobody's 100%. So his rib injury is it's not deterring him from playing because if you look at the past two games, he was lights out. So I don't really think it was an issue with the rib per se. I don't think it was bothering him. I think the defense for the Steelers did a great job of containing him. And you also got to remember it's cold outside, and this is a California kid. So, he's got hurt ribs. They're not healed. They're not 100%. So it's really more so a pain tolerance right now. But he's able to perform still at a high level. And I just think it was just one of those one-off games where he was playing arguably the best defense that he's played all year. And Mike Tomlin and company over there. I mean, they play Lamar Jackson twice a year. You don't think they know how to contain a rushing quarterback? So I just chalk that up as a one off. I would say this week, look to see Jaden to get about 50 plus yards running. That's not a lock of the week. That's a co-lock of the week. You can go ahead and pencil me in and quote me on that one. 50 yards rushing for your boy JD5. But
ooh, I like
you know,
that. I like that.
yeah, but overall, I think the fan base, like I said, we're not used to winning. It's been 25 plus years since we've had a legit winner. I don't count 2012, that was smoke and mirrors, or 2016 with Kirk Cousins because we got lucky with that, or in 2020 with the 7-9 record because it was a COVID year. I don't count none of those. But some of these callers are like, man, we're gonna go 9-8 for the rest of the season. And I'm like, well, have you looked at the schedule? I mean, we got Dallas twice, so I think we're gonna sweep them. So that's two wins right there. We got the Titans. That's three wins right there. And if we lose the rest of the season, that's a 10-7 season. So I'm predicting 12-5. So the only teams that I'm predicting the Skins to lose to is Philly once, and maybe Atlanta. Those are the only two other teams that I can really legitimately see us losing to. We don't have any more AFC teams, I don't believe. And we're not playing the Steelers. We're not playing the Ravens. And on paper right now, our best win was against Arizona. So, yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. A lot of people are still optimistic, but I'll get to more of that in the last take as far as the overall fan morale. I think it's going to be pretty interesting how the season turns out, though.
Man, great take. You hit a lot of good points, Co. So let's stay on this Commanders Steelers game. Let me go back and give a little bit of my recap after watching this game. I think one of the first things I noticed watching this game was the Commanders without Brian Robinson are not the same team. You can tell that when the Commanders have Brian Robinson, they just have a different attitude. It's like they get that it's like the Hogs attitude.
Yeah,
When it was the Hogs,
yeah,
it's crank up that diesel. It's we're
yeah.
about to run the football, we're about to run it down your throat. Like it's that type of attitude. And without Brian Robinson, they don't have that. That was the first thing I noticed. I talked about Austin Eckler being able to get a yard last week. You mentioned this to me before the show. Austin Eckler led all running backs in fantasy points. I was very impressed with Austin Eckler this week, filling in, taking over the number one running back role. I think if I'm thinking about what the mindset was going into the game, I think Cliff Kingsbury told Austin Eckler, "You're the number one running back. If Brian Robinson is not in, we're not bringing in Chris Rodriguez. We're not bringing in Jeremy McNichols. We're making you the feature back."
Mm-hmm.
And I think it worked. I think they were able to work with it, but I think there is a difference.
Big difference.
Yeah,
Big difference.
it worked. Eckler made a lot of good plays. I think he had a really good rushing average. I think he made a lot of good plays, but you can just see that the offense just doesn't move the same. It just doesn't have the same just aggression. It doesn't have that
Yeah.
yeah, that power running which again leads to Jaden having extra yards to get off of to run to the side on the RPO.
Yep.
When you got Brian Robinson running that RPO, you have to send that extra defender that way, and that
Mm-hmm.
really makes whoever is guarding that RPO right there, that defensive end, they've got to make a decision. Do I crash because I've got to crash to help my team tackle Brian Robinson, or do I stay out here and try to defend Jaden? And like you said, the Steelers, they did a great job of that was kind of one of the next thing of game planning against Jaden Daniels. And like you said, they play Lamar Jackson 2 times a year. They know exactly how to game plan for somebody like Jaden Daniels, and you could
Mm-hmm.
tell they were prepared to pressure him often, early and often.
Mm-hmm.
They got into his face. Again, they've got T.J. Watt, who I think is a contender for Defensive Player of the Year, but they
Yeah.
have other good pieces. Mika Fitzpatrick in the secondary made a lot of plays, just whether it was tackles, whether it was just getting to the ball. You could see him everywhere around there. And then I'm not sure the end's name across from TJ Watt, but he did a good job. Again, they just got a lot of pressure against Jaden Daniels, and he couldn't even escape the pocket. That was something they
Nope.
get. What's the linebacker? Patrick Queen that
I
left the
think that's
Ravens
his
that plays
name.
for I think that's him. He did a great job spying Jaden Daniels. Like he
Yeah.
really I,
He had
I
nowhere
didn't
to
know it
go.
was that bad where you said the 3 yards. I didn't know it was that bad. Patrick
Yeah.
Quinn did a great job.
Yeah. They definitely did a good job of containing him. And when you have wide receivers dropping passes, that just doesn't help either. And then, like you said, with B Rob out, that's their bell cow. I honestly feel if he would have been in the game, it would have been a completely different story. But yeah, I think that was a real solid take there with them. The Steelers are top five for a reason, and now that Russell Wilson is back in the kitchen again, whew, look out. That's all I got to say. But
Yeah. Just the one last thing I'll say,
yeah,
it was a rookie mistakes type of game. To
yeah,
end the game with Johnny Newton, and again, much respect to Johnny Newton. He's filled in great for Jonathan Allen.
yeah.
That's just a rookie mistake. The drop passes. That's just a young team. You know, these aren't rookies, but these are receivers who are a little bit further along. Just look at last season. I was looking at some tape from the Commanders last season of when they played against AJ Brown and the Eagles. The team looks so different. It looked like a completely different team.
Yeah.
And when you look at the mistakes that happened last week, it just makes sense. Benjamin St. Juste. This will be my last point. The play Mike Williams on Benjamin St. Juste. It just solidified. We made the trade at the trade deadline to get Marshawn Lattimore. We talked about it last week. That's an A+ move,
Yeah.
and we didn't have that A+ player on the field, and it showed. I think Benjamin St. Juste, knowing that Lattimore is coming over, he's trying to make a play, trying to keep his position on the field, and he there was no reason for him to get burnt. And that's just
None,
a young
especially when they're
player's
10 yards
mistake.
off. He was 10
It's
yards
just
off
a
and still got cooked. Last week he was Benjamin ain't juiced. Okay. Because he was getting barber fried. It was no excuse. Now, when Lattimore comes back, we already know he's going to be the starter. St. Juice is going to be number two by default, and Mikey Samerstill is going to go to the slot most likely because that's where he's at his strongest. So what's going to end up happening, unfortunately, with Lattimore being in the lineup, they're probably going to test him even more because they're not going to go to his side. And St. Juice has already shown that he's pretty solid, so they're going to keep picking on him. But I think if our pass rush can just kind of get galvanized itself, Lattimore's going to create a lot of coverage sacks. So I think we should be okay once he is inserted into the lineup. But right now, ain't doing nothing.
Yep,
So
and let me I'll end up with this code.
yeah,
St. Juice will be the number two. He'll get targeted, but hopefully with this defense, when we add Lattimore in, I hope Joe Witt Jr. and not I hope Joe Witt Jr. is proven. Him and Dan Quinn have proven what they can do with good defensive pieces. We've seen Trevon Diggs get all types of interceptions in a Dan Quinn defense.
mm-hmm.
So I think Lattimore, if they target Lattimore, he's going to make plays, and if they don't, I think we're going to be able to shift the defense over to St. Juice, to Ain't Juice,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call him. I think we'll be able to shift the defense over, tell him to stick to his duties, do your job, like Bill Belichick says. We don't need you to make plays. Do your job, and
Period.
that's that. So we'll be all right from there. And yeah,
Yeah. So we got the Eagles and Cowboys, or Eagles and Dallas. They are two complete butt cheeks. That's
hold on,
that's that.
give me 1 second, give me 1 second, Cole. Honey G, yeah. Can you wait till I'm done with the show to start that? Yeah. All right, bye bye. It's okay.
100G, what up,
Yeah,
baby?
yeah, yep, yep. Cole said, "What's up, Honey G?" What's good,
Yeah, what's good, man?
Like
But
we got
yeah,
Nobu
shout
down
out to
here.
100G, man. Like that's
Man.
my man's in them. But
Honey
yeah, we
G and
got
Nobu down here.
yeah, is Nobu in there too?
Nobu's down here checking in, man.
Checking it. Hey, shout out to Nobu, man. He got some views on YouTube, man. So the fans love Nobu. I'm gonna introduce Barack the dog in a little bit here, but yeah, shout out to Nobu, shout out to 100G, shout out to Mama Wig, shout out to Sister Wig, shout out to the whole family. You know what I'm saying? Out there in Detroit holding it down. But as far as the remaining games for the recap, we had Dallas and the Eagles. I predicted a 40 burger, but they were 6 points away, 34 to 6. I thought they was going to drop 40 on them, but they turned the mercy clock on. But Dallas is done. Dak Prescott is he's on injured reserve now with that hamstring injury. They literally have no other weapons outside of CD Lamb. I don't trust their quarterback. Don't trust their running back. Don't trust their offensive coordinator, Mike McCarthy. He should update his resume on Indeed because he's gone after this year. You know, your boy Jerry Jones is delusional about a lot of things. I think they're going to enter an era where they may be the bottom of the league. I mean, bottom of the division, because the Eagles and the Commanders, they're legit. They're going to be around for a while. New York, Danny Dimes is trash. They have nobody else outside of Malik Neighbors. They're going to be fighting Dallas for third and fourth place for the foreseeable future until things change, because Dallas has spent what, $500 million on two players between Dak and CD Lamb. They have no room to recalibrate or add players. So I don't see how they're going to do anything this year, let alone for the next few years, unless something happens, unless they do a restructure or something. But yeah, so
Yeah,
they took a nail.
let me jump in here. So
Yeah,
so yeah, Dallas, man. Like I said, every week it just feels like we're picking on Dallas. It feels
I
like we're
love it.
bullying them because
I love it. I love it.
I mean they're just so bad this year. I was really looking forward to. I think what was the matchup coming up this week? So we had the Eagles Cowboys, and then I think Cowboys Texans coming up. I mean, I'm looking forward to both of those games if Dak is playing. And that's
Yeah.
one thing I hate about the injuries. You know, Dak being out. it just really takes the life out of whatever expectations you have for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But it does show you two things, and I'm gonna get to this in my last take. Cooper Rush is not it. So
No.
I don't want to get into it yet, Cole, but I think I might have to for this take. Was it right to pay Dak?
See, that's the issue with football, man. They had to pay him. It was
They
either
had to
that
pay him.
or they would lose him. Now, is
I think
Dak an
that's the right
elite
answer.
quarterback? He's not an elite quarterback, but is he top 10, top 15? Yes. You need a top half quarterback to even have a chance. I mean, Kirk Cousins is top 15. You had to pay him. Dak Prescott, top 15. You had to pay him. So it wasn't a matter of should they pay him. It was a matter of who was going to pay him, because if Dallas didn't, somebody was, So it's a quarterback league, and he had him by the balls. It is what it is. And I applaud Dak and anyone who's getting paid, because the NFL, they're ruthless. They will cut you at
It's
the
a
drop of a
business.
hat
They always say
and
it.
will,
It's a business.
yeah, and they will place you before your seat at your locker gets cold. So get your money. I have no
Yeah.
issues with people getting their money, and I also love it when they get paid and get injured right after, because the teams be like, oh, we don't want to pay them, and they get injured, and then that's exactly what happens, and that's exactly what you get for not paying them earlier. So
No,
I'm
I
cool with
completely
that.
agree. I completely agree with that analysis, Code. One thing, for one, I was a component of Dak getting paid. Like, I don't know if you can hear it.
We're
That's
live,
Nova.
baby.
That's we're
Noble.
live, though. That's Nova, man. Let me get him out of here. Look,
No, he's cool.
Josh,
He's cool, man. The fans love him.
the fans of Nobu, just don't come down here doing that stuff.
My main
Um,
man.
my man Nobu, and he want to be right. God,
He said, "Let me be in the show, dude. Damn."
let me be in the show. What was that saying? Cowboys. Was I saying Cowboys or Eagles?
We were talking about the
He was up
Cowboys
there.
and Eagles.
Okay. I can't remember.
And we were talking about Dak and him getting paid.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So get paid. Black man get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is showing you how to do business in the NFL. And if he can get paid, everybody else should get paid. So I completely
Mm-hmm.
agree on the get paid aspect. However, if I'm running a business, if I'm running an organization, I am not paying these quarterbacks. I'm running my team like the Buccaneers, who went and got either when they went and got Brady, an old vet,
Mm-hmm.
and they paid Brady, I think they paid him top 10 money, but I don't think they paid him top
They
5
didn't break the
money.
bank for him.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of these teams go wrong is paying that top 5 money for a quarterback that's top 15.
Yeah.
That and that top 5 money is different from that number. Again, Brady would say, make me number 10, make me number 11. I don't need to be number 1 because if I'm number 11, I can add a receiver like Antonio Brown. I can
Yeah.
add a defender, like a linebacker or a defensive end, to rush the passer. That's what these quarterbacks are not allowing these teams. Kirk Cousins, the Falcons are not winning a playoff game. The Cowboys are not winning any playoff games. Um, and that's my problem with paying these quarterbacks. Like you said, you have to do it. I don't think you should do it, but you have to do it. So it's a crazy conundrum that these teams are in. And the Eagles paid Jalen Hurts, and I think the best thing to do, I'll say this, and then I'll move on. The Eagles did it the way you should do it. Pay him early.
I was just about to
Jalen,
say that. Yep. You got to pay him
and
early. That's the way you can get ahead of the curve.
that's the way you do it. They paid Jalen Hurts when they should have paid him, and they're in a good spot. If the Cowboys had paid Dak Prescott 2 years ago, they could have gotten Derrick Henry this past year, and we probably have a completely different conversation right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Mm-hmm.
poor management on Jerry Jones. All the responsibility, in my opinion, goes on Jerry Jones. All the responsibility because whether it's coaching, we know Mike McCarthy, we know who he is. Micah Parsons said it. Like he got into his beef with the coach. That's a whole another story.
A
Micah Parsons and
completely
Mike
different story
McCarthy.
with that dude.
Um, but it still comes back to Jerry. Like I think people are saying you could have had maybe Bill Belichick, you could have had Derrick Henry. Like I said last week, you could have had Amari Cooper still on the team. You could have had Tony Pollard still on this team. All these players that could be making a difference, and yeah, it's all on Jerry Jones. And that's all. The
Yeah.
Eagles, we'll see what the Eagles and Commanders do this week. I'm looking forward to that game. We'll get into that on the preview. But yeah, as far as the recap, this is just all about how bad the Cowboys are.
Yeah, complete agreement, man. As long as he's the GM and the owner, the Cowboys are just going to continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. But that is the recap for week 10. Let's go ahead and move into week 11. Starting off, we got the Thursday night game with the Commanders at the Eagles. Um, Despite what I feel, I did say that they're going to split, and I think we're going to win our home game against them. So I'm going to take the Eagles over the Commanders tomorrow. And I'm going to take them in a close game, 27-23. You can go ahead and notate that there. But next game I have is the Ravens and Steelers. We're going to be kind of doing a division rivalry review here for the Brodies out there. Ravens and Steelers. Ravens at Steelers. Now, I love the Ravens, but Russ is cooking. Mr. Unlimited. Okay. Give me the Steelers at home over the Ravens. Okay. That's going to be a tight game, too. I'm thinking like 17-13, 17-10, because
Okay,
that
so
the
but Steelers are home on this one.
Steelers are home. So I'm going to
Okay,
take the home team. Yep.
okay.
Then we got the Chiefs and Bills. I think that the Chiefs have a chance to go undefeated. Like I said, they're at the Bills. Now, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be their toughest challenge yet. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go with my homeboy. Okay, give me the Chiefs to stay undefeated. They beat the Bills at home. And then lastly, we just to round off,
What you got for a score? What you got for a score on that one, Co?
Chiefs Bills 21-18. Walk off field goal.
I like that. That's how they've been
21-18.
winning. I like that.
And then that's the only non-divisional matchup that we have in our picks here. The last one we have is Seahawks at 49ers. Give me the Niners at home. And that will round out my picks here. Who you got, Wiggs?
Let me get a Seahawks 49ers score real quick, Co.
Seahawks
Because one of
49ers.
these might hit. One of these might hit.
Something's
Yep,
got to hit,
Seahawks
man.
49ers.
Seahawks 49ers. It's a divisional game. Give me
Mm-hmm.
21-17.
All right. Okay, so let me go Commanders, Eagles. I know we wanted to talk about this one a little bit, but let me just go a quick pick 'em. Oh man, you're going Eagles. I'm gonna go Commanders because, like I told you, I'm gonna make sure somebody's picking Commanders because we're that good. Like,
Yeah,
and I think
they can win.
last week was a pick 'em. It came down to the last. It came down to the first down that I said we got cheated out of. Um, what's my guy Zach Ertz?
Oh, yeah. Don't
I
even get me started on that.
I said we got cheated out of that first down. And I think if he got that, we're either in first down or we're 10 yards away from field goal range. Not first down, but from
It,
field goal range.
if we
If
got
he
the
gets
first
that,
down, we would have been like 5 yards away from field goal range. We were that
so
close.
so yeah, so that to me is a pick 'em. And I think the same thing this week. So I'm gonna go Commanders. But I love what you're doing here, Co. You're not being one of those fans that just picks the team. And I think this is a Eagles team that can beat the Commanders. But like I said, I don't wanna see the Commanders beat the Eagles and neither one of us pick the Commanders.
Right, 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 right.
I would just not be happy with our show if we did that. So yeah, but the Eagles have a really good chance. to beat us. I think it's going to come down to Sirianni. I think he said it might come down to coaching because I like the players that the Eagles have, so I think it might come down to coaching.
Yeah.
Uh, but yep, I'll go Commanders. Ravens Steelers. Ooh, what a game! So
This could
this
be a
one
dope
to
game.
me, I'll be quick with this one. I think the Ravens are gonna win. So we got
Okay.
a different pick again. The reason
Okay.
I think the Ravens are gonna win, I think this is kind of like little brother, big brother. The Steelers just played little brother this week. Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
the younger version of Lamar Jackson, if you want to say, a dynamic quarterback that can make the play with his legs or with his arm. And I think the Ravens defense, again, they're poor, but they make a play the same way the Commanders defense makes a play. So I think the Ravens, they got Derrick Henry. Again, we didn't have Brian Robinson. They've got Lamar Jackson. He's playing at the MVP, MVP3 level. So I think the Ravens. It's a divisional game, so I think they just get over the hump and beat the Steelers. I'm going with the Ravens.
Okay.
Chiefs and Bills. Excuse me, Chiefs and Bills. I'm going Chiefs stay undefeated.
Okay.
This is a tough one. Oh man,
Yeah.
I think I might have to go Bills on this one. I think the
You,
Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
but
That's
not
This is so
not
tough.
this
This
week.
is
I
so
mean,
tough.
they got the refs on their side, so you never know.
Yeah, and I think the story I buy into the storyline stuff like the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey and Mahomes and the third Super Bowl in a row. Like I think that's a really big storyline. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to do what the Patriots did with Brady and Moss,
Yeah.
end up going undefeated until they lose in the Super Bowl. I actually think the Chiefs are going to lose a game because they're not as dominant as some of those teams that went undefeated and late into the season. The defense is good. They have Mahomes, but you can tell they look like they're just ready to lose. And this Bills team is good enough. I'm gonna go with the Bills this week to get
All
the
right.
win.
All right. So that's three different ones. Okay.
That's three
Go ahead,
different
round it
ones.
off for the fourth
Man,
one.
I'm telling you. Let's see. Seahawks 49ers. I'm trying to give myself a reason to go with the Seahawks. They have a good team. They have a good defense. They have good coaching. The only thing about the 49ers is they have McCaffrey coming back, and you can tell that has reignited the 49ers. Just
Mm-hmm.
having Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, you can see the excitement. You can see the playmaker that he is. Like
Mm-hmm.
CMC is special, man. He's just one of those players that he can get it done a multitude of ways. I think he was his rushing yards. He didn't have the attempts quite yet, but he was in the game for a lot of plays. Jordan Mason only had one rushing attempt, so CMC is the main back, and he had a lot of catches.
Yeah, he still had 100 yards from scrimmage, fresh off
Yeah,
of two Achilles injuries, which is incredible. So yeah.
yeah. So I want to go Seahawks, but I like Purdy more than Geno. I like CMC more than Kenneth Walker. I'm gonna go 49ers here. So this is the only one that we have together that we agree on. But this is a great week of football. This is just a
Yeah.
great week of football. I mean, the matchups again: Commanders Eagles 7-3 versus 7-2, Ravens Steelers 7-3 versus 7-2, Chiefs Bills 9-0 versus 8-2,
Mm,
Seahawks 49ers 4-5 versus 5-4. So all these
mm.
matchups are within like one win of each other.
Yeah.
And again, I think we talked about it a little bit before the show. We're gonna really be able to see who fits where in the power rankings after this week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Complete
this is an
agreement there.
exciting week.
So there we have it there, Brodies. We got the Commanders Eagles game. I'm taking the Eagles. Wiggs is going to be taking the Commanders. For the Ravens Steelers game, I'm taking the Steelers. He's taking the Ravens. For the Seahawks and Niners, I'm taking the Niners. We're both agreeing on that. And then for the Chiefs Bills, we're splitting again. I'm taking the Chiefs. He is taking the Bills. Now, go ahead and follow us on Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube. Okay. Go ahead and click on that bottom right hand corner and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well. Let us know how your picks are doing. And also if there's any matchups next week that you want us to give our take on, let us know. But without further ado, Brodies, we have our fan favorite segment. It is Wigs Parlay Locks. Okay. Now, full disclosure, once again, these are bets that Wigs and I are putting our own money on. And use whatever platform you want. We are going to leave the platform we are using in full confidentiality until they cut the check for your boys. Okay. So if you hit on some of these parlays, please let us know. We would love to see how you guys are doing with your parlay bets. Right now, with all of our parlay bets through 3 weeks, we are hitting at a 62% clip. So that is extremely good. Basically, over half of our picks are hitting. So if you are looking for some good picks for your parlay, go ahead and tune in to Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube for Wigs Parlay Locks of the Week. But to go ahead and kick it off here, who you got with the first leg, sir?
I'm gonna need you to put them up. I know I gave them to you, but I didn't write them down. So let me.
Gotcha. So we got the first leg here with
All right,
DeAndre
first leg,
Hopkins, 40
DeAndre
plus
Hopkins.
yards,
Yes,
minus
that's right.
245.
So let me see. And the Chiefs are playing the Bills, but this was just a really good. I couldn't turn down the odds that we got on this one. DeAndre
Yeah,
Hopkins 40 yards for minus 245. To me, again, we shoot on Wednesday, so we don't have all the betting odds for the week, but from what we have, I think this is one of the best ones. Hopkins got over 40 yards last week. He got over 40 yards the week before that. And I think he's going to keep rolling. He's going to keep having a bigger role in the offense. Travis Kelsey is kind of finding his rhythm with Mahomes. That's going to kind of push the defense towards Kelsey, give Hopkins a little bit more one-on-ones. Xavier Worthy should still be able to keep the defense honest by going over the top. That's the only thing I'm not happy about with this offense is the fact that
yeah,
Xavier Worthy is not doing more. But to keep it on D Hop, yeah, I think D Hop can get 40 yards easy. It's the first leg, the first lock. What do you think, Co?
yeah, complete agreement. I mean, outside of Travis Kelsey, they really don't have anybody else to throw to. Xavier Worthy is just a one-trick pony right now until he's able to learn the full route tree. So he's doing nothing but slants and go routes. So if the defense and secondary just focus on shutting that down, they have no choice but to go to D Hop. I think he's going to get a bunch of quick passes. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if this guy hits 40 yards before the end of the first half. So definitely lock that in. The second leg we got here is Kyron Williams. It's a combo here, 75 plus yards rushing and receiving, minus 370 for the odds there.
So this one again, I think we looked at a couple backs on the rushing and receiving, and I said it last week. You said it this week. Kyron Williams is just a special playmaker, and this offense features him. I think one of the things that I was kind of disappointed with myself last week with some of my picks. And again, Co, you came in with some great analysis. That's why I'm happy we're doing the collabs now. David Montgomery. One of the things that you said last week about David Montgomery was that it was a split backfield. And last week, Jameer Gibbs happened to get the larger amount of carries. He was the one that happened to break the rushing yardage for the week for the Lions, and we didn't get that. We didn't get that lock just because of the split. Kyron Williams is not splitting carries. He's a feature back, 75 rushing and receiving. He's been getting that every week. Let me see. Do I have the opponent for the Rams here? The Patriots.
They're
The
going against the
Patriots are
Patriots. Yep.
okay, but their offense is not good enough to keep them on the field, to keep the ball out of the Rams' hands. The Rams are going to have the ball. They're going to have a lot of opportunities, and Kyron Williams should get that 75 easy. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he gets a bunch of touches, man. Even even in that loss last week against the Dolphins, he still got 70 plus yards, I believe. So he's definitely a lock there for me as well. Go ahead and lock him in. Kyrie Williams, 75 plus yards rushing and receiving combo, minus 370. And for the third leg pause, we got Mr. B Rob himself. Okay, we got Brian Robinson, 40 plus rushing yards, minus 185 for the odds.
B Rob coming back into the lineup. Man, we miss B Rob. We really needed this. I think I mentioned it earlier. We just needed this aspect of the offense again. You can tell the offense is missing something. You can tell the offense is lacking something. B Rob should be coming in fresh. I love what Dan Quinn is doing with the injured players. You can see it with Johnny Newton. They kept Johnny. Not only did they keep Johnny Newton out at the beginning of the season, he had to get two different surgeries on both of his feet. I think Liz Frank surgery on his feet. And Johnny Newton is again, he's making an impact. Brian Robinson, they kept him out 3 of the last 4 weeks, I want to say, and this week he's here to return. I think this should be. I'm not gonna say an easy 40 yards because I think Eckler is going to be featured, and this is a
Yeah.
little bit of that split. This is a little bit of that split backfield that we talk about. But again, I do think seeing how the offense has struggled without Brian Robinson, I think he's going to be featured, and I do think he'll get the majority of the rushing carries. Again, Eckler should still get the screen passes and kind of get in on third down. But I'm hoping I don't want to hope, and I'm almost starting to doubt myself on this leg, but
Nah,
I do think we can get it. What do you think of?
it's a lot because here's what's going to happen. The very first series, B Robinson is going to get the first carry, most likely. And then it depending on how that first run goes, he's going to get another one and then another one. And I would be shocked if the first series he gets the ball at least 5 times. And if Jaden Daniels is who I think he is, which is nice and healthy or healthy enough, he's going to do a couple of read options on that series and it's going to free up. I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks like a 20-yard run, within the first couple of series. But go ahead and lock in B Rob. He is the bell cow in Washington. He's back and he is hungry. And the defense for Philadelphia is pretty good, but with that 1-2 punch with him and Eckler, you got to pick your poison. So I would definitely lock in B Rob for the 40 yards there. Moving right along, we got the fourth leg here with Jalen Hurts, 200 plus passing yards, minus 215. What do you think about that?
Uh, Man, I think every week we're gonna do a good job if we have whoever the passing quarterback, the number one receiver, or the number one running back going against DC. You said it perfectly last week. Our defense is not the best, but they make plays, and we saw it last week. The defense made two turnovers. I
Mm-hmm.
think one on special teams and at least one interception.
It was a pick
Uh,
and a fumble recovery.
okay, picking a fumble recovery. Yep. And so yeah, we made two plays last week. Again, we're right in that game. It comes down to the last couple of plays, and I think the defense is going to be able to do that again. However, Jalen Hurts is going to be able to rack up the yards that he needs to rack up. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. We saw what AJ Brown did last year against the Commanders. Devontae Smith is a lethal weapon. Dallas Goddard, the tight end, he has really good chemistry with Jalen Hurts. So I think 200 yards is just easy for Jalen Hurts against his defense.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't even think I need to say too much else. What do you think of?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I don't think Jalen Hurts has thrown under 200 yards all season, and he's going up against a secondary that's ranked 28th in the league, arguably. So, and he's got two stud receivers and a solid tight end, and then also he's got Saquon Barkley. 200
Mm,
yards it should be a
I didn't
given.
even
So
mention Saquon. Yeah.
yeah, so go ahead and lock that in, fellas. The last leg we got here, we're going to stay in Philly. We got AJ Brown, 60 plus yards receiving, minus 310. What do you think about that, Wicks?
Like I said, if we're from DC, we watch this team every week. Once Lattimore comes back, then maybe we'll start thinking about going against the grain. But right now, Benjamin ain't juice. Benjamin St. Juice, Emmanuel Forbes. Like we know what these cornerbacks are, and they need help with the way our defense is structured. We're gonna try to stop the run. We're gonna fail at that, and we're gonna leave our cornerbacks in coverage where they can't cover one on one, and the receivers are just gonna have a great day against us. I don't know why we're leaving these receivers in one on one coverage, but it happens every week. And a receiver gets a big play, a big touchdown against us every week. It's probably gonna happen again. So we're not even asking them to get a touchdown. We're just asking them to get 60 yards. I think that's an easy lock against the Commanders. Unfortunately, I think it's an easy lock against the
Yeah, I agree. I think what the defense is doing is they're picking their poison. They're saying, okay, we got to stop the run because our run defense is worse than our pass defense, despite how bad our pass defense is. And what they're doing is they're saying, okay, let's put 7, 8, 9 people in the box possibly. But when you do that, you have to play man coverage. So unfortunately, you're going to leave your cornerbacks out there on an island if you don't get home and sack the quarterback. So with that being said, if I'm the coach of the defense on the Commanders, I'm saying, look, Saquon Barkley, we got to stop him. Period. So let's stack the box. And we didn't do too bad, with the man coverage last week. But again, those wide receivers aren't the wide receivers in Philly, so it may be a little bit different. So if we can try to make them one dimensional in some shape, form, or fashion, we'll have a legit shot. Like I said, the issue is picking your poison. If we go nickel coverage and put a bunch of cornerbacks out there to guard the wide receivers, we're going to be susceptible to Saquon Barkley running amok. If we do 7, 8, 9 people in the box, we're going to expose our secondary. But I feel that if we can just get Jalen off his platform, I think we have a shot at disrupting the pass game and getting a couple three and outs. Um, and then just hope that our offense stays as potent as it is, and you just stay 1 to 2 scores ahead, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge because Cybert is out again, even though the guy that substituted him was actually pretty solid.
He did a good
He,
job. He did a
yeah,
good
he did
job.
pretty good there, so not too worried about that. The biggest thing for me is, can we get off the field on third down in the second half? Okay. When we're up 3, 7, 10 points, can we stop them when it matters in the fourth quarter? That's going to be the biggest thing. But AJ Brown, he's going up against Ain't Juice. Go ahead and lock him in for 60 plus yards receiving. I guarantee that shit.
Let me ask you one question, Co. So we got AJ Brown. You mentioned Saquon Barkley. I forgot to mention his name. As dynamic as he's playing, I don't know how I can forget that. If you had to guess who else would get 60 yards in this Eagles offense, would you guess Saquon Barkley to get 60 rushing yards or Devontae Smith to get 60 receiving yards? If you weren't going to go with AJ Brown, would you go Saquon or Devontae Smith?
Honestly, with the Skins secondary being as bad as it is, I will go with Goddard
To get, let's
because
say,
because the
40 to get 40 receiving yards?
yeah, what's the tight
Okay.
end's name for Pittsburgh? Fair Moose or
Fryermuth.
something. Yeah, he
Fryermuth,
he
yeah.
he went off last week, and he hasn't really done
Mm.
much all season. So yeah, I would, from a
You go
receiver
Goddard. That's a
standpoint,
good one.
yeah, I would take Goddard, AJ Brown first, Goddard second, and then Saquon. So those will probably be your three
I like it.
standout players,
I like it.
most likely. So that is your 5 parlay locks of the week, brought to you by my main man Wiggs here. Like I said, if you're not following us on Brody Sports Talk, you need to follow us at Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube, also on TikTok. go ahead and give us your feedback, man. Are these parlays hitting for you guys? Because if you guys are making money off these picks, I think we deserve our tithe and offerings. Okay, we need our 10% cut, or at least give us a
Let the
shout
church
out, or
say
at least follow us
amen.
right. Okay, so
Let
if
the
you're making
church
money
say
off us,
amen.
at least do us a favor and like the damn show. Okay, it's the least you could do.
Yeah, we
So,
might have to put the cash app. We might have to
hey,
get an
no
official
bull.
cash app for the show.
Yeah, nope, no bull. And honestly, we'll talk about this off camera, but we may have to do like some promotional deals as well. Like if you hit on a parlay or something, you might win a cash bonus with us. We'll talk about that off camera, But we're trying to entice the people to hang out with the Brodies here and nobody else.
That's
So
right.
moving right along here, we got my favorite segment is the Stardom Situm. Okay, now this is for the fantasy world. This is also going to help on your parlay bets as well. And if you have any buy-in leagues for fantasy, this is also going to help. I'm in a couple of buy-in leagues as well, so this is definitely going to help. To start off, we're going to start off with the quarterbacks. For me, I got Russell Wilson. Okay, go ahead and start him. He's playing at a high level again. He's really gelled with George Pickens. I love the chemistry that they're getting over there. Mike Tomlin, once again, is looking like a genius. To me, he's the coach of the year every single year. And people were doubting him when they were like, "Oh, why are you gonna, not name Justin Fields the starter?" And he's like, "Well, because we have a Hall of Fame quarterback that's injured, and all we have to do is make sure that he's perfectly healthy to see what we're going to do. Like we brought him in first, so let's see what the guy can do." So, Russell Wilson, go ahead and start him against the Ravens. Like I said, their secondary is not that good. George Pickens is playing at a high level. Fairmouth, all of those guys over there. And then also they got Mike Williams. So they got some picks over there. So go ahead and start Russell Wilson. Second, I got Jared Goff. Now the guy threw 5 picks last week. That's the reason why I'm starting him, because he can't get any worse. You can only go up from here. Okay. So that's that. He's playing the Jaguars. Okay. And it's home too. It's a home game against the Jaguars. They're trash. We already know that. They're dead in the water. So go ahead and start Jared Goff. And then lastly, we got Matt Stafford. Now, he didn't have too good of a game last week, but the Dolphins defense played way better than I expected. So, like I said, you can only go up from here. He's playing the Patriots. They're going to be picking top 5 next year as well. Puka Nakua, Cooper Cup, and we also got our lock, Kyron Williams. They're going to go off because they're pissed. They should have won that last game. Go ahead and start Matthew Stafford. Who you got, Wiggs?
I like the list. So Russell Wilson versus the Ravens. I think you got to start him. You made a great point last week about the Bengals secondary, and that was one of my regrets last week was not thinking about the Ravens secondary being trash. Um, Jamar Chase went off against them boys. We talked about it on the Happy Hour show. I mean, Jamar Chase just it couldn't be stopped. The Ravens
Mm-hmm.
secondary, and they've looked bad all year long. Like the Ravens secondary, they do have a good young corner in Nate Wiggins. Shout out to the
Mm-hmm.
Wiggins. But with him and Marlon Humphrey and the safeties, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a defensive scheme thing. I think. Matter of fact, I should say this. Mike McDonald left the Ravens and went to the Seahawks, so he's now the Seahawks coach. That was
Mm-hmm.
the former Ravens defensive coordinator.
Mm.
And a little bit like Dan Quinn leaving the Cowboys, you can
Yeah,
see the
big difference.
significance of that the coordinator leaving. So I do think Russell Wilson can eat against the Ravens. I'm trying to think. Would I pick him over Lamar? I would still probably pick Lamar. I know that's not the start him sit him, but I do like to think like which starter would I prefer to have if I had
Yeah,
Russell Wilson or Lamar. Um, I guess you got to go Lamar with the MVP season, but yeah, Russell Wilson should do well in this one. Jared Goff versus the Jaguars.
I know you ain't taking the B word over golf.
Definitely not.
I know
I'm
you ain't
definitely not
taking
taking.
no. What? I didn't know. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I know you ain't taking Trevor.
So I'm definitely not taking Trevor, and fortunately, I don't have to take Trevor because they actually are sitting Trevor Lawrence this week.
That's right.
This-
He is hurt.
that's right. So
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence had a slight injury, but again, this felt like an opportunistic sitting. It felt like he could go, but the Jaguars were like, you know what? Let's just keep rolling with Mac Jones. If you get sat for Mac Jones, that's not saying a lot about you. Mac Jones has already been dropped by his team, so
Whack
it's,
Jones.
it's not looking good for the B word. So I'm definitely going golf over him, but I do think there's something to be seen for the quarterbacks like the Jared Goffs, the Sam Darnolds, even the Kirk Cousins. I'll put him in that category. Kirk Cousins last week lost to the Saints. He had a pick at the end of that game. These quarterbacks that are not the top five, they're in that 10 to 15 range. They have good teams, they have good defenses, but they're not elite quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jared Goff has kind of shown he's kind of in that range. Like, he's not elite, but he has a good team around him. Can he be the difference maker? In this game, of course, he's going to win. Um, I think I'm going to sit Jared Goff this week.
Okay.
And then Stafford versus the Pats. I like Stafford. He has Puka Nakua. He's got Cooper Cup. So I like Stafford versus the Pats. I'm gonna make that easy. I'll go with Stafford on that.
Cool. All right. Moving on to the sit-ems here. I got Geno Smith. Now he's going up against a tough defense with the
Go ahead and go
49ers.
full screen, Cole. Let me
You
let
said
me
what?
fix it. I said you can go ahead and go full screen on this one.
Yeah. So basically, give me Geno Smith. Like I said, he's going up against the 49ers in a pretty stout defense. It's an away game as well. I don't think Metcalf is healthy. And if he's not, then Tyler Lockett and the other kid, I think I forgot his name, Smith and Jigma, I think that's his name. They're not going to create much separation. Walker, their running back, is pretty good, but if they stack the box and stop the run, they're going to force Geno to beat him with his arm. Pause. But I don't see that happening. So definitely sit Geno Smith this week. Next, we're going to Atlanta. Kirk Cousins, go ahead and sit him. Now he's playing at Denver. Denver's defense is really good, and Denver is also one of those silent teams that are winning. They didn't win last week, but they still have a winning record. They're a silent, killing type of team right now. I don't think that Kirk Cousins has enough to put up some elite numbers. The Falcons may win, but I don't think that Kirk Cousins is going to perform at a high level like people expect him to against Patrick Surtain and that stout defense over there in Denver. So go ahead and sit him. And then lastly, I hate to do it. It's my man's in them. I think he's the greatest passer of all time. Not greatest quarterback, but greatest passer all time. Aaron Rodgers, go ahead and sit him. The Jets are done. He may be done. Now, granted, I'll give him a grain of salt here. He's coming off of an Achilles injury last year, so he may need a full year to recover. So next year may be a little bit different, but he's going to be a year older, and he may not even have the passion that he once had. He's starting to dwindle. His arm isn't as strong as it used to be, and like I said, the Jets defense is they're not as good as they used to be either. Everything is just a shell of themselves. So go ahead and sit Aaron Rodgers. So to recap the sit 'em for me, I got Geno Smith. Go ahead and sit him. I got Kirk Cousins. Go ahead and sit him. And I got Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead and sit him. You back, Wiggs?
Whew. Man, I think I might be in complete agreement with you on this list, and I think what makes it easy for me is who they're going against. Like I said, I know that's not the point of the list, is to see exactly the opponent. It's kind of just to see would you start them on your fantasy. But Geno versus Purdy, I like Purdy in this one. I like Purdy just a little bit more than Geno. Again, for me, the difference is going to be Purdy's a little bit more mobile.
Yeah.
Gino, Gino, Gino does not like to run out of the pocket. Like
No,
I
he
think
doesn't.
he has the capability, but he's just Gino, C.J. Stroud, Dak Prescott. All three of those guys kind of don't like to get out of the pocket, and I
Yeah.
think it restricts them in their game. I think they could be a little bit better if they just weren't afraid to extend the play a little bit more and get out the pocket. So I like Purdy in that one. And Gino, I agree, sit him. Kirk Cousins. I'm Kirk Cousins' biggest hater. Sit him. It's not that you should sit Kirk Cousins every week, but you made the point. Kirk Cousins is going against the Denver Broncos this week. Pat Surtain is a beast, man. The Broncos are nice, and
Yeah.
the Broncos run a really good offense as well with the rushing attack. They didn't have Javonte Williams rushing last week. The guy that they had filling in for him, he looked really good. I can't remember his name. His name was like Etim. It's not Etienne, but it was like a Etim or something like that. But he
Yeah.
came in, filled in really well. Bo Nix runs the offense really well. He's not afraid to use his feet. So I like Bo Nix, the rookie, over Kirk Cousins in this game. I would be sitting Kirk
Yep.
Cousins,
Yep.
and and then A Rod. He's going against the Colts, and I like Joe Flacco for the veteran quarterbacks. I feel kind of almost crazy saying this. I wouldn't have said this before the season, but where these teams are right now, I watched the Colts play last week, and Flacco was slinging that ball. You said it, and I agree with you. A Rod is probably the best passer of the ball, if not one of the best passers of the ball. I love my guy Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's one of them too.
he's definitely one of them. I mean, Michael Vick just had a crazy spiral. I don't know if we wouldn't talk about accuracy when we talk about Vick, but just the way the ball looked coming out of Michael Vick's hand was crazy.
Yeah.
But A Rod is up there, and the Jets just look terrible. They have good receivers. Again, they got a good team. They have good receivers. They got a good running back, and Aaron Rodgers is not getting it done right now. But I'm gonna start Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna start.
Mm,
I'm gonna start Aaron
okay.
Rodgers because I think Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams can find the end zone against the Colts. I think this actually might be end up being a high scoring game,
Mm,
and Aaron
I hope
Rodgers is
so, man. Because the
Aaron Rodgers
Jets
ends up
fans,
with
they're
two or three
going through it right now.
touchdowns. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if the Jets can win. That's the problem. It might be high scoring, but I don't even know if the Jets can win. And that's just man, the Jets and the Cowboys both being out of the playoffs. That wasn't something I was expecting this year.
Yeah, me neither. I mean the Jets, they were Super Bowl favorites. Like they had them going to the Super Bowl, and because of marketing genius that Jerry Jones is, he convinces the masses that every year they're going to have a chance, and every year they just come up short. But
All
yeah,
in.
so that
All in.
is the quarterback stardom and sit 'em. Just to recap here for you, Brodies, we got Russell Wilson here, stardom. For me, get Jared Goff in the starting lineup. Wiggs disagrees. We both agree with Matt Stafford to start him. We both agree with Geno Smith. Go ahead and sit him. We both don't like Kirk Cousins. Go ahead and sit him as well. Now I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers, and Wiggs is going to be starting him. Now, again, these are for your fantasy lineups. If you have any leagues that you're, got some buy-ins or whatever, hope that definitely helps you make your decisions. But again, if you're not following us here, you need to follow us at Brodie Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube, also on TikTok. Go ahead and click on the bottom right hand corner and subscribe and like. We definitely appreciate your feedback. Moving right along, let's go ahead and get into the running backs here. So for stardom, I'm going with Chase Brown. I've been going with him for the past 2 weeks straight, and he has not disappointed. So I'm going to go for a third straight time with Chase Brown. Now, they got a pretty tough game against the Chargers defense, but I mean, honestly, the way he's playing right now, he's getting all the carries. I don't think Moss is even sniffing the field. unless
He's still hurt. Moss is going to be hurt, so it's going to be Khalil Herbert, and I don't think
okay.
he's
Yeah,
in the.
he may not even be ready to
Yeah.
go. But even if he is, I mean, he's not going to get a bulk of the carries. It's not a committee out there. Brown is clearly the starting running back. So go ahead and start him. Hasn't let me down since. Next running back, I'm going with Kareem Hunt. Go ahead and start him because this guy is getting yards, yards, yards. And right now, until the passing game opens up for the Chiefs, he is going to continue to get a bulk of those carries. Isaiah Pacheco should be coming back shortly. I believe either this next week, I believe. So when he comes back, he's going to obviously assume the starting role again. And Kareem Hunt is probably going to be like a relief back or a third down back or something like that. But until then, he's going to be the bell cow. So go ahead and start him while you still can. And then for number three, we talked about it earlier in our locks here, but I'm doing a combo: Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Go ahead and start both of them. Okay, you can't go wrong with either one. If you want your parlay lock, go ahead and start Brian Robinson. He's going to give you at least 40 yards in a tutty. Austin Eckler, I think he's going to give you 30 rushing yards, maybe 40 receiving yards in a tutty, something like that. Go ahead and start both of them. That is who I have for my starting running backs. Who you got, Wicks?
I like that list. So again, I'm gonna kind of go about it the way I go about it. I love Chase Brown. I like his opponent as well. Going against the Chargers, I like J.K. Dobbins as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a really good running back matchup. I think, like you said, Chase Brown. There's nobody. Zach Moss is no longer taking away carries from Chase Brown, and you can see Chase Brown is producing. You cannot stack that box when you have Jamar Chase. I don't know if T. Higgins is playing this week, but as long as you got Jamar Chase, you cannot stack that box because they
Mm-hmm.
showed you last week they will go over the top and they will burn you bad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I really like Chase Brown. You got to start Chase Brown. I like J.K. Dobbins as well, but I think you got to start Chase Brown. Kareem Hunt going against the Bills. I really like James Cook. Again, that's another really good running back matchup. But I think again, you have to start Kareem Hunt until Pacheco comes back. You make a really good point. If Pacheco comes back, I think they do have to go with Pacheco because I want to say Pacheco signed a contract this year in the
Mm-hmm.
offseason. Um, Kareem Hunt is filled in well, but I think Pacheco's the main back, so that is going to hinder him. But for right now, he's the main back. I would start Kareem Hunt and James Cook as well. Excuse me, the B Rob and Austin Eckler. That's a kind of an interesting take because what you're saying is not so much start the backfield, but you're saying start both. And
If you
I
have
like
if you have both of them on your team, I wouldn't leverage that, but you can start either one of them. If you have
okay,
either one,
okay,
start them.
okay. Yeah, and let me go to the opponent. The opponent is Saquon. I think this is probably the only one that I could take just because Saquon's going against our defense. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably the only reason I would take Saquon over these two, and because they're splitting carries. But we have a great rushing attack as well. Once you add B Rob back into the equation, our rushing attack becomes top five again. So I like our rushing attack. In this equation, I would probably take Saquon over those two. But I don't think you can go wrong starting either one this week. Um, if I had to pick one, I would probably pick between B Rob and Eckler. Wow, who would I pick? I think I'll go B Rob. Like you said, he's in
Got to.
our
He's
line.
in the lot, so might as well.
So yeah, I'm going B Rob.
Cool beans. So that is going to be the stardom for the running backs here. Uh, Now let's move on to the situms. Now the run defense for the Ravens are pretty good. Go ahead and fit Najee Harris. He barely got his lock from last week against a poor run defense for the Skins. I think he ran rushed for like 23 attempts for like 60 yards, something like that. So I would go ahead and sit Najee Harris. Next is someone who's gotten no love from the Brodies this year, Alexander Madison. Go ahead and sit his ass too. He's not doing nothing. You know, they're probably going to not run the ball as much because the way I see it, I see the Vikings blowing out the Titans via pass. And your boy Alexander Madison, he may get a couple of short yardage.
Madison is Raiders, right?
Uh, no, I think he's still on the Vikings.
No,
Uh,
no, I think because
is
Aaron Jones is Vikings now. I think Madison is Raiders.
still sit his ass. It don't matter. The Raiders are even worse. Even more
Hey,
needs to sit his ass.
no, no,
So yeah, yeah. Go ahead and sit him. He's not doing nothing. And then next I have is
sorry to that man. I don't know who you
hey,
are.
we don't know who you are, man. We don't believe you. You need more people. Okay. Next we got Rico Dowdle. Now, Rico Doubt. Oh, okay. He ain't doing nothing. Uh, Dow ass is trash. Okay. Like I said, they're going to most likely stack the box and make Cooper Rush try to beat them with the pass. It's not going to work. They're only going to be throwing a CD Lamb all day. So go ahead and start. Go ahead and sit Rico Dowdle. And then, yeah, so that's going to be my sit-ems for the running backs. Who you got, Wiggs?
Ooh, oh, excuse me. Najee Harris. So you said Najee Harris going against the Ravens.
Yeah,
This is a divisional game, and I feel like the Ravens they really get amped up for divisional games.
yeah,
Think they're gonna go at Najee Harris's head. I don't. To me, Najee Harris is a poor man's Derrick Henry. Like,
yeah.
so one, this is a direct matchup. I'm going with Derrick
Both
Henry
Bama running
over.
backs too.
What's that?
Both Bama running backs too. Didn't they both go to Bama?
I think so. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, Najee Harris to me is a poor man's Derrick Henry. I'm going with Derrick Henry over him. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't necessarily like Najee Harris again in this matchup. Again, it's a divisional matchup, and I feel like the Ravens, both teams get up for these matchups, but I don't think that Najee is a separator. I don't think he pulls apart. I don't see him making the play that the Steelers need
yeah.
to make the difference in the game. So yeah, I'm sitting Najee. Madison, sorry to that man. I don't know who you are. You got to prove it, bro. Like
Oh
we don't know
man,
what team you play for real, for real. Like,
I'm
are you
so
on the Raiders?
sorry.
Are you on the Vikings? I think you were on the Vikings last year. I think you.
That
Hey,
just shows how important he is right now. I didn't even. Yeah,
I'm telling you,
it's sad.
that's exactly prove it. You got to prove it. You haven't done anything this year. Maybe one game that you have, but yeah, no, you got to prove it. And again, you're going against the Dolphins with Devon Chain. I would rather have a chain in this
Yep,
matchup. Rico
yep.
Dowdle. I like Dowdle, and I like what he was doing, but without Dak, now you're gonna have 7, 8, 9 in the box. Like you said, all the defense has to do is cover CD Lamb and stack the box. That's
That's
all
it.
they have to do. It's so easy to defend when that's the case. And yeah, Cooper Rush is not good. The Texans, again, let's look at the running back matchup. The Texans have Joe Mixon. I like what the Texans are doing with Joe Mixon. And then let's just look at the defensive matchup. The Texans defense, those boys don't play. What, 5 interceptions versus the Lions versus Golf? Golf had only thrown 3 interceptions the whole year, and then throws 5 versus the Texans. They look good against the defensive line. They look good against the run. So yeah, no, I don't see Dowdle or the Cowboys doing anything versus the Texans. So yeah, sit. I think this is a sit across the board.
Cool. So it looks like we're in agreement with that. Moving on here to the wide receivers. Since Russ is cooking, go ahead and start George Pickens here. The secondary for the Ravens, like I said, is not that good. So you saw what happened to them last week. Not saying George Pickens is on the same level as Jamar Chase, but he's pretty damn good. So go ahead and start him. Next, since Bo Nix is balling out, go ahead and start Cortland Sutton. He's actually available on some waiver wires. Despite the good play that he's been during these past couple of weeks. So go ahead and start Cortland Sutton. I like him. And then lastly here, Cedric Tillman. Now, the reason why I'm going with him is because, I mean, he's basically going to be the only option that they got out there in Cleveland. Famous Jameis. He's a little bit of a gunslinger, but Cedric Tillman has actually been flying under the radar this year. He's been giving you double digits. So I like Cedric Tillman as a sneaker pick for the stardom. And then for my sit 'em, I have CeeDee Lamb. Okay, sit him. And the reason why I say that is because he's literally the only good player on their team. Cooper Rush is not going to do well. You're already sitting there running back, So I would just go ahead and put the Cowboys out of their misery. Just go ahead and put CeeDee Lamb on the grill, baby. The rack a ram here, rack a lamb. Go ahead and grill him up. Brian Thomas Jr. Go ahead and sit him. He is on the Jaguars with that sorry quarterback play. The backup is Mac Jones. Okay, the Patriots got rid of him. The Patriots. All right, so that should tell you something. So go ahead and sit Brian Thomas. I don't see them doing much. The Lions defense is too damn good. They're going to be on the road. I don't see them doing much. I think it's going to be a blowout. I wouldn't be shocked if they drop 40 points on them. And then with the last wide receiver, now this one, I'm going out on a limb here because I like the matchup, but I don't think he's going to get the points that we think he's going to get, and that is Jalen Waddle. Go ahead and sit him. They are playing the Raiders. So here's why I'm sitting them. I think that they're going to try to force feed Tyreek Hill because he's just not having the year that we all expected him to have. Tua Tagovailoa, I believe, is still shell shocked. Did you see this clown dive head first trying to tackle somebody off of an interception, fresh off of having a freaking concussion that could have killed him? Like I don't get this guy. I don't get him. You know, I just don't get him. So sit Jalen Waddle for the simple fact that I think they're going to force feed Tyreek Hill. We got Devon Achan. I think they're just going to do that 1-2 punch to just try to just get out of there with a win. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game despite them playing the Raiders. So yeah, go ahead and sit Jalen Waddle. Who you got, Wiggs?
So CeeDee Lamb, man, I'm hurt by this one because I traded for CeeDee Lamb in fantasy. You had a lot to say about this trade because the CeeDee Lamb for Zay Flowers and Xavier Worthy trade, and I told you guys all season long. One, it's about injury, but two, I'm just disappointed right now, man. Like, the quarterback play. The quarterback play is really what it is. Like, CD has no chance for the rest of the season with Cooper Rush. We know that Dak, they didn't just put him on injured reserve. Dak is out for the season. So, I mean, I feel like I lost that trade. Like, at this point, I feel like I lost that trade. I think 2 weeks ago, CD Lamb had 33 points. Like he had touchdowns in a game and 100 and something yards, and I think that was the last time you kind of said like, "Yo, J-WIGG, that trade was not fair. It was lopsided." And I think the week after that, Zay Flowers had like 100 yards, and CD had like 8 points last week.
That's the football gods doing justice right there.
So yeah, I'm hurt by the CD Lamb. You got to sit him with Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is just. It's the reason, like you said, you got to pay Dak, even though Dak is not the one you should pay. You got to pay him because if you don't, you got Cooper Rush and Trey Lance.
Oh my gosh, he's even worse. Did you see the audible hand signals that he was using?
No, I didn't see that.
So this dude is over here trying to do a daggone. I guess he was trying to do like hurry up. And Trey Lance was like calling the hand signal. He was doing this. This was the hand signal, and I was like, "This represents your season right here, bro. What you're doing, you guys are getting tooled."
Yeah, chill out with that, Trey Lance. I don't.
Hey, yo,
Yeah, that's an AO moment. We're gonna have to add the laugh track or something on that one. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb, we're sitting him. Brian Thomas Jr. Again, who's the quarterback? Mac Jones?
that's
Mac
right.
Jones? Who? Mac Jones? Like,
Matt Jones.
hey, yeah, no, he's not good. If Trevor Lawrence is starting over you and Trevor Lawrence is the B word, then
Capital B.
capital B. So
Capital B,
capital
man.
B, capital O, capital F. Both of them is trash.
Both. Hey, what's Shannon say? Both of them.
Both
Both
of
of
them.
them.
Both of them trash. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a good receiver. Like I
Yeah,
think
he
you
is.
said it last week. Excuse me. You said it last week. I think he was on your stardom list, and I think he did okay. I think he got a touchdown last week. But these quarterbacks are just not good. So I don't trust them against the Lions. The Lions have a pretty good defense. They know how to pressure the quarterback. They got Zadarius Smith. He filled in. Zadarius Smith filled in well. He's not Aiden Hutchinson. I
Yeah,
know the Lions are definitely missing Aiden Hutchinson, but I think maybe as the Darius Smith gets acclimated, he may gain some speed. But I could just tell that was one thing I noticed was that he looked a little slower coming off that edge compared
yeah,
to Aiden Hutchinson. But yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. That's the sit, and then Waddle versus the Raiders. So I disagree a little bit on this take because I think Tua does do a good job of spreading the ball around. I do think they need to force feed Tyreek. So I agree with you that I think they need to force feed Tyreek. I don't think that Tua is going to do it. So I
yeah.
think he's going to spread the ball around. But I do agree that you should sit Waddle because he's got to prove it. He hasn't done enough. I don't know when the last time he got a touchdown was, and I don't think he's gonna get. He hasn't. I don't know when the last time he had a 100-yard game or a
It's
touchdown.
been a while.
It's been a while. They still have Odell Beckham. He hasn't done anything, so I think they're gonna try to get him involved.
Yep.
John Smith, the tight end, had a really good game versus the Rams, so they probably need to get him involved. They still have a chain. They still have Mostert. So I think they have. I do think. Again, I think the only thing I did disagree with is that I do think Tua will spread the ball around. I think he just has to spread it around too much. It's going to be spread thin.
Yeah.
So I would sit all three of these guys as well.
Cool. So it looks like we're in agreement with that as well. So moving right along, we are going to talk about the tight ends. Now, for the tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, go ahead and start him. And the reason why is because he's healthy, he's back. The Vikings have a pretty favorable matchup here. So I would say go ahead and start him. He should be getting a lot of the targets outside of Justin Jefferson. And the Titans, they're going to be picking top 5, top 10 in the draft next year. They suck. So go ahead and start TJ Hawkinson. Uh, the next one I got is Dallas Goedert, like I mentioned earlier. The Redskins defense, Commanders defense is not that good. AJ Brown's going to get his. I think they're going to say, okay, look, you're not going to beat us with all three receivers, so we're going to take out Devontae Smith, and we're going to try to shut down uh, Saquon Barkley. So that just leaves out Dallas Goddard and AJ Brown to eat. So go ahead and start them. Next, I got Sam Laporta. Now he's having a shoulder injury, but I think he's going to be good to go. And again, he's going against the Cut Bowl champions and the Jaguars. So go ahead and start him just off of GP because I think he's just going to get his typical five catches or so, maybe about 50 yards and a tutty, something like that. He's starting to turn a corner now, averaging a little bit more than the 7 points that he used to in the first half of the season. So go ahead and start him. As far as sit him, we're going to keep it at the Cup Bowl champions with Evan Ingram. Go ahead and sit him. He hasn't done jack all year. Jake Ferguson, go ahead and sit him. And then we're going to go up to Chi-Town with Cole Kmet. Go ahead and sit him as well. Caleb Williams, I think, has hit his rookie wall, and they just fired their offensive coordinator, like I predicted last week. And so now he's he's forced to learn a new style of offense or a new style of play calling or just a new swag with the new offensive coordinator. I don't think they're going to be hitting on all cylinders this week. So go ahead and sit Cole Kmet.
Whew. Good list. Let's start from the top. So Hawkinson, I'm not sure who the Titans tight end is. I was trying to think like, man, who is the Titans tight end? I'm not even sure, but Hawkinson and the Vikings. I think I'm actually going to sit Hawkinson this week.
Okay.
I do I like Hawkinson, but I like how he fit better with Kirk Cousins. I almost wish Hawkinson could go to Atlanta and Pitts could come to the Vikings because I
Yeah.
think both would do better in different situations. So I'm gonna sit Hawkinson this week. Dallas go there. I like Dallas versus the Commanders this week. Um, like you said, the Eagles have a lot of weapons, and I don't think the Commanders can cover any of them. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna spread ourselves thin trying to cover these people, and we're not gonna. Like I think all the Eagles are gonna have a good game against the Commanders. I think our only hope in that game is if we can keep up with them offensively. So Dallas, go there, start them. Sam Laporta, I'm gonna sit him as well. I think that
Mm.
the Lions again. This is a team that just has a lot of options. They got to spread the ball around, and in this situation, it's just Laporta and Goff just aren't connecting yet. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. The chemistry is just not there. I don't know if it's. I can't quite put my finger on it. And to switch from the start to sit, so I'm gonna sit Laporta. I'm actually gonna start Ingram this week.
Mm.
I got a chance to watch the Jaguars highlights, and I think they might try to go to Ingram a little bit more. He's so good. Again, Ingram and Pitts to me, it's no reason these guys shouldn't have 80 yards and a touchdown every week. They're so good. They're so fast. They're so dynamic, so athletic. It makes no sense that Ingram is not getting 80 yards a week. I'm actually going to start him this week. I saw him grab a touchdown over 3 defenders last week, and it just kind of left me like, what? So I actually like Ingram this week. I'm going to go with Ingram over Laporta.
Okay.
Ferguson with Cooper Rush, just don't start any Cowboys right now. It's not a good look for them. And then Cole Kmet, you mentioned that the Bears just switched offensive coordinators. So they got to show us what they want to do. What does the new offensive coordinator want to do with the Bears? Um, Again, they've got a lot of weapons. So who are they going to? Are they going to DeAndre Swift? Are they going to Roma Dunze? Are they going to Keenan Allen? Are they going to DJ Moore? Are they going to Cole Kmet? I don't know. You got to prove it. So sit him as well. Um, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, that is your stardom sit 'em out there, Brodies. Again, if you are not following us, you need to follow us at Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube. Click on the bottom right-hand corner and subscribe to the channel. Go to our TikTok and Instagram pages and like and follow and share. Leave your comments. Hit us up on the DMs. Let us know what you think of the picks and also how everything is going on with your teams. But moving right along, the next segment here, another one of my favorites is fantasy talk. So, uh, basically, for this week, I just want to go over a couple of things. I want to go over the scoring leaders from last week. Now, we already talked about Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. They both had great games. Joe Burrow gave us 63. Lamar gave us 56.30. And Kyler Murray rounded it off with 44.40. Like, this guy actually has started to make his claim for MVP. Honestly, real talk. Because he's starting to hit his stride. And I think I'm really happy for him. I like Kyler Murray. A lot of people wrote him off. And I like how he's just shutting people up. But as far as running backs, like we mentioned earlier, Austin Eckler, he led with 29.40 points. I mean, this guy had 44 rushing yards, 2 rushing TDs, 1 reception, total 118 yards. I mean, this guy's the Swiss Army knife. So go ahead and start him, like I said. Bijan Robinson gave us 27.90. This guy had 116 rushing yards, 2 rushing TDs, and 28 yards receiving. And then Chuba Hubbard, he finished with 22.90 points. I mean, these are elite numbers here, man. In some leagues, they're scoring more than the quarterbacks. So these are really, really good numbers here for these running backs. And with the quarterbacks playing, subpar ball right now, the running backs really are the top tier players in the league right now. Second is wide receivers due to default, and then third are quarterbacks. For tight ends, let's see, Travis Kelce, he gave us 16.40. He's starting to turn the corner. Mark Andrews, 15.80. He's starting to turn the corner. And Laporta at 14.10, starting to turn the corner. So those are your scoring leaders.
Who'd you have at? What were your receiving scoring leaders?
Oh, yeah, my bad. So for the receiving scoring leaders, we had Jamar Chase. He gave us 49.90. Marquez Valdez Scantling, 24.40. That was very random.
Yeah, very random.
Very random. And then Calvin Ridley at 22.90. Now, he had 5 receptions, 84 yards, and 2 reception TDs. That's not going to be a guarantee every week, but since he's only really the one of the options out there, he's going to hit, I'd say, 2 out of 3 of those categories. He's going to get his targets, yeah. Yeah, he's going to get you receptions or yards and no TDs, or he's going to get you receptions and TDs and no yards. But either way, he's been a solid fantasy pick, overall. But those are your scoring leaders going into week 11. But yeah, any feedback you got on that?
So so as far as fantasy goes, I thought that one thing that was funny, I think we talked a little bit about it on the Happy Hour show. The number one team in our league, Grady, has both of these quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, on his same team. He ended up picking wrong. He got 56 points at the quarterback position and ended up picking wrong. He happened to be going against the person that had Jamar Chase with 49 points at the receiving position. And he ended up losing. So to have the number one or the number two quarterback, 56 points at that position, and still lose because your opponent has Jamar Chase, this was really one of those fantasy weeks. We see it every year where one player gets 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you just have no chance to win in that game.
It is what it is, yeah. It definitely sets the tone.
What's that?
I said it definitely sets the tone when you got a receiver like that giving you basically 50 points. I mean, if you lose that game and one of your players got 50 points, you either picked the wrong lineup or you didn't set your lineup, one of the two, because 50 points right there, that's technically 2 to 3 players from a scoring standpoint. So yeah.
Exactly. Three good outings from players. Because let's say we get 15 points, 15, 30, 45. I'm happy if I get 15 points from my players. So to get 50 from one, yeah, you really shouldn't lose that game. So I thought that was pretty cool. That you also mentioned this last week, and probably for the last couple of weeks, the running backs are really leading the show.
Yeah.
To see what happened with the running backs over the offseason, I was really happy to see them get opportunities to try other team. Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and going to the Eagles. Derrick Henry leaving the Titans and going to the Ravens. Josh Jacobs and what's my guy, Aaron Jones. Different teams. I think that's so cool to give these running backs an opportunity. Hey, the CEOs and the GMs are saying we don't think your market is there, and the running backs are like, all right, let me prove it. The GM said we'll let you prove it. The Giants GM going on HBO Hard Knocks, you look stupid. You look stupid as fuck. To be on that show, to be on that show saying you don't know if you want to re-sign, and the CEO or the owner, not the CEO, the owner is saying, I don't want to see Saquon in the division, and you let it happen. Fire that dude. Get him out of here right now. I wouldn't even want him coming back in the building. Your badge doesn't work on Monday morning.
Yeah. No bull. No bull. No excuse. Now, granted, I understand Saquon Barkley has had a little bit of an injury plagued history. Like outside of this season and last season, he's only had maybe one other season when he played all 16 games. So I understand their reasoning. And on top of that, they paid Danny Dimes that money. So it was kind of like, okay,
That's
look,
where they messed up.
yeah, and that's the chokehold that the quarterback position has on the league because you have to have a quarterback. But sometimes you end up taking a gamble on a quarterback that has you by the balls and you have no choice. Like Daniel Jones did it right. They didn't pay him. He ended up having a playoff uh caliber season that one year, and I think they got a playoff win if I'm not mistaken. And he's a
Mhm.
free agent. You got no choice. You got to pay him. And now that he's gotten his money, he's back to being who we think he is, which is, you know, an arena football, quarterback. So yeah, it's definitely boosting the value of the running backs. I'm curious to and anxious to see what the running back contracts and free agency contracts are going to be headed into this season for some of these running backs. It's definitely going to be pretty interesting. But
Let
yeah,
me let
as
me
far
let me put back in, Co. So the
yeah,
tight ends and receivers, I felt like this was kind of a weak outing or a week from the receivers. Like you said, Jamar Chase went off, but the next receiver was Valdez Scantling. Like, where did that even come from? He's on the. I didn't even know what team he played for. And when you look at
it's
fantasy, you can't even see his name. It's just three dots. I guess just because his name is so long. But
let
like
me
I saw
see.
this player for the Saints, and I'm like, who is this
Yeah,
dude? And it
he's
was
on the
Marcus
Saints.
Stanley.
Yeah, he's on the Saints.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
even know
but
when
I'm
they
like,
picked
I
him
didn't even
up.
know that. Who is this guy? I mean, not to say who is this guy. I know he came from the Chiefs, but what has he been doing this year? Not much. So I thought that
Yeah,
was interesting. The tight ends are really, like you said, they're coming back of late. That's really good to see because it really was one of those things at the beginning of the year to see Christian McCaffrey out, to see the tight ends like Kelsey and Laporta. You know, these are guys that were drafted extremely high, and they
hmm
just were not coming through at all. So to
yeah,
see Kelsey doing what we know him, what he should be doing, to see Mark Andrews have a good game, that was really positive. The running backs, I'm happy to see what they're doing, and the quarterbacks, like that's kind of going to be. I'm going to say I'll save that because I want to talk about the quarterbacks for my last take. But I'll speak about Kyler. Kyler definitely looks like to me nobody's in the league with Lamar Jackson right now. Lamar's in a tier of his own as far as the MVP goes. But I think Kyler will be in that tier below.
yeah,
Kyler, Jaden. I like what Joe Burrow's doing. I like what Josh Allen's doing. Mahomes is still going to be there. I think Purdy's maybe right under those guys, but he's in that conversation. But yeah, Kyler's doing a lot, and he's talented. Like that dude is just so fast, man. Like he can make a play. It's got to be hard for for the defenders to go against Kyler because you just don't know where where he's gonna be,
you can't see
when
him.
he's gonna make a play. Like it's got to be so hard for the defense.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think their schedule isn't as tough in the second half as well. So honestly, for the NFC West, I think it's going to be a three-headed monster, a three-headed race to see who's going to win that division. Because the
What's
Cardinals are
that?
winning;
Cardinals,
they're ahead of the
Seahawks.
division now, right?
What's that? Cardinals and Seahawks.
And Niners and Rams. So
Ooh.
yeah, so right now the Cardinals, I believe, are leading the division, and then I believe it's the Rams next, and then I think it is the Niners. I
Okay.
believe, or it's vice versa as far as the standings there. But yeah, it's going to be a tight race. And just to piggyback off of what you were saying with the tight ends, this is a direct correlation of the quarterback starting to turn a corner because the tight end play was piss poor the first half of the season. that's because the quarterback play was piss poor. But now it's starting to come around, and the Titans are actually, a direct result of that. So yeah. But let's go ahead and talk about our league here, Wiggs. So we mentioned that Grady. Shout out to Grady. He's number one right now. But
Hey,
we don't care about the number one seed. We know what the history of the number one seed does. So you can have the number one seed for all I care. But I'm
Bacon. It's
I'm number two with my win. And unfortunately with the L you took, you're still at number three. But we have the Shoe Crew matchup this week, me versus you. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm 1-0 so far against you this week. So the 100 rounds is going for the sweep.
Yeah, I'm the points leader in the league, and I'm in third place with, I want to say I took my fourth loss this week. If I'm not mistaken, I think I'm 6-4. Like, I didn't even want to look at
Six
the
and four,
standings
yeah.
this week. Yeah, I didn't even want to look at the standings this week. I was so mad. I had a really bad game last week. CD Lamb had under 10 points or under 15 points. CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, like these are top tier stars. Couldn't get 15 points, and I still have players that play well, but it doesn't matter when the rest of your players aren't playing well. So yeah, I was really hoping I could have gone to first place. Grady took a loss, so all I needed to do was get the W, and I couldn't do it. So I'm in third place. But like you said, it's Shoe Crew week,
Yeah.
so if I can get the W this week, that takes care of you. If Grady can lose, I can get right back to first place. And again, first
You can
place
have
doesn't
it.
mean you get the
You can
bye,
have it.
but it's bragging rights, man.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a regular season title would go nice in the trophy case here. So, big matchup for sure. But let's go ahead and talk about the injury report here. So we got Kirk Cousins, he's questionable. Dalton Kincaid is questionable. Amari Cooper is questionable. T. Higgins is questionable. Sam Laporta is questionable. Josh Jacobs is questionable. Nico Collins, I mean, he played, but he's still listed as questionable. See how that hammy's doing. Michael Pittman, he's having a pretty tough year. He's still questionable. Tank Bigsby, that's the running back we were talking about, the other guy, but he's questionable. Brian Thomas Jr. is questionable. Isaiah Pacheco still on IR, but I think he's coming back this week. Tyreek Hill. Here's an interesting take on Tyreek Hill with him being questionable. Did you hear what he said about his wrist injury?
Mm-mm.
So you remember, I think it was week 1 or 2. You remember when he got arrested before the game? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So he said that ever since he's been dealing with a wrist injury since training camp, and he said when he got arrested, he said he tore a ligament in his wrist from the arrest. So I don't know if that's going to be a lawsuit or anything like that, but yeah, I think that could be attributing to some of his play. Now, obviously, the quarterback is not doing too well, but he mentioned last week that he's been having issues with his wrist because of that arrest. But he's questionable. Sam Darnold is questionable. Aaron Jones is questionable. Devontae Adams is also questionable. Najee Harris is questionable. Christian McCaffrey, he's going to play, but he's listed as questionable along with George Kittle. Mike Evans he's still nursing that hamstring, so he's listed as questionable. And then Austin Seibert is out with that hip injury. So got a few players, most likely all these players that I mentioned outside of Pacheco and Austin Seibert and maybe Mike Evans. I'm pretty sure everybody else is going to play. I mean, it's the late season. Everybody's not at 100%, so they're always going to be listed them as questionable. But that is something to note when you're going over your fantasy startups here. But any feedback on that?
A couple things. The Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs. I think I talked about, the Packers a couple weeks ago, and just they're missing something, and it just really feels like injury is just going to be the bane of their existence this year. I mean, I like Josh Jacobs got 2 touchdowns last week for the first time. It really felt like the Packers were. I'm sorry, not last week, but the week before. It really felt like they
Mhm.
were making strides, and they're going to come back and do well this next week. So hopefully they can play. Like you said, nobody's going to be 100% at this point of the season. So I just hope that Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs can play because I think they have a special team, and I would like to see them go further.
Yeah.
Uh, you didn't mention Nico Collins. Do you know if Nico Collins is
Yeah,
playing
Nico
this
Collins,
week?
he's questionable. He's still with the hamstring, but
Yeah.
I think he's good. He played last week, so I think
No,
he's still
he
coming
didn't
back to
play.
the right?
Actually, he was a late scratch last week, so that was
Okay.
one that he was supposed to play last week. He was him and Christian McCaffrey were supposed to come back. Christian McCaffrey ended up looking really good in his game. Nico Collins ended up being a late scratch, and again, the Texans could have used him in that game versus the Lions. CJ
Hmm.
Stroud just hasn't looked like himself without Nico in the lineup. So I think with Nico coming back, that'll be a really big update for the Texans. Mike Evans, I mean that one hurts just fantasy reasons because he's on my team. I'm not quite sure what's going on with his injury. Um, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. But I was able to watch Cade Otton in this offense, and he's not ready to be a number one receiver. He was getting
Yeah.
the targets the last 2 weeks, but you can tell that he's just not. I don't know if it's a focus thing. He had a couple drops, and it just looked like he's not ready to be the number one receiver. So the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield really need Mike Evans back because yeah, they're struggling, and Baker's having an amazing season,
He is.
uh, but they're struggling uh, without Evans and Godwin. Outside of that, I think like you said, it's just this part of the season where nobody's 100% healthy. I like what some of the coaches are doing. I like what Dan Quinn is doing with our team, though. Just speaking about injuries, Lattimore is out again. You know, we could really use him. I think they got him for games like the one that we have coming up versus the Eagles. That's the reason that we got Lattimore. However, we're thinking long term, and I appreciate that. We
Yeah.
got to
I
think about
agree.
we got to
I
think
agree.
about the long term, and if we can have Lattimore here for 5 more years, that's much more important than having him here for this weekend or for
Yeah.
for Thursday. So. Uh, Yeah, I think Lattimore is a big one for me. Seeing B Rob come back, that's going to be a big one as far as injuries are concerned. I can't wait to see what the Commanders' offense looks like with B Rob back in that lineup. So as far as injuries are concerned, that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most this week.
Cool beans. Well, Brody, that's the injury report. Go ahead and use that to manage your fantasy lineups and also your parlays and everything like that. And once again, if you're not following Brody Sports Talk, you need to be following us on Instagram and YouTube and also on TikTok. Go ahead and click on the bottom right hand corner and subscribe and like. We definitely appreciate it. But to wrap things up here for our last take here, I'll go ahead and take the first stab at it. So here's my last take. Now, Wiggs mentioned this last week when he was talking about the refereeing and maybe they're colluding with Vegas to I don't know, just create some type of communication to make sure that certain players don't hit their marks or what have you. But I want to take that a little bit further, and I'm going to reference the play from the Steelers and Commanders game with Zach Ertz. Now, a lot of people are up in arms about the spotting of the ball and saying that they were short the whole nine. Here's my thing. They need to create some type of system where they can get adequate and accurate spottings of the ball. And not only just that, with misplay calls like holding, pass interference, roughing the passer, all of that. I think it's time that they create some type of digital system where they can either, put a chip in the footballs and put a chip in the markers so they can line up so they can make sure that the spotting of the ball is accurate. Or worst case scenario, have the people in New York When it's 2 minutes left, the replay calls have to come from upstairs or what have you. They need to create some type of system where the people from New York who are watching these same games, they need to have the final say on some of these rulings, because you can't sit here and have the head of officiating out there in New York agreeing that it was a first down, yet the refs on the field are saying that it's not. And if you look at the play, he passed the line of game before he was touched. He had the forward progress. The issue was he got touched after he, I guess, like fell backwards or got pushed back or whatever, but he caught the ball right on the line or a little bit past it. So to me, before he got touched, he got the first down. But if you take a look at it, as soon as he got up, the ref came and literally took the ball and spotted it 1 yard behind where he got touched. And that's what cost us our opportunity to win. And a lot of these refs are making little mistakes like that or overlooking certain calls, and they're costing games. And not only are they costing games, they're costing the consumers money on their parlays, okay? And then on top of that, ultimately, it could affect careers, because how many times have we seen a player, miss a call, like drop a pass, or a play got called back and it cost them the game, and next thing you know, they got cut or something like that. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's 2024. We have too much technology out here for them to keep making these simple mental mistakes. So my last take is this. They need to create some type of digital system where they either like put a chip in the ball and the markers so they can get adequate spottings of the ball. They need to incorporate replays and challenging for penalties like holding and things of that sort. And if there's not definitive evidence from the refs on the field, they need to have that final call from upstairs. And what they say goes, because I'm sick and tired of them saying one thing and then the refs on the field are saying another. And then after the game is lost, they come back a week or so later saying, yeah, we took a look at the film and it turns out they were right. Well, you're a week too late. You know what I'm saying? That we can't have that. And games are won and lost off of those mistakes. And I'm getting sick of it. So that's my last take. And what do you think, Wiggs?
That's a great last take. There were a lot of missed calls this week. There were a lot of blatant missed calls this week. There was a call in our Commanders game where, and it's actually, it helped us. The Commanders, I think it was the first field goal that we kicked. One of our guys was holding one of the Steelers. The ref literally saw it and came up to the player. You could see it on TV. The ref came up to the player and was like, help me out here. Like, you can't hold like that. So to me, that's probably the best evidence we have of a ref admitting he's holding his flag when he's supposed to call it. He walks up to the player. He says, come on, man. Like, I can see that you're holding. I didn't call the flag. Why are you not calling the flag? It was a hold. I think we had another one where Jaden was in the end zone.
Yep.
And and he was hurt, and it should have been a safety. And again, I'll take it because it's my team. I don't want that, but I would rather the game be called fair. We have money on the line. The game is on the line. We would much prefer the game be called fair, because if it's fair for you, then it's fair for me. That's what I'll prefer. So no, that's a great last take. And I think, like you said, let New York handle it. The play that the Commanders had at the end of the game to Zach Ertz, I don't know how they got that wrong. Like you said, the referee immediately came over and spotted it short, which is like, what the hell are you doing? And then it looked like it's enough evidence on tape for me to say, get the spot right. Like, it was where the first down, it was either ahead of the first down or at the first down. It definitely wasn't a yard short. Yep. So what the hell are we doing here? Like, let's get these calls right. I think that's a great take. Anything else you want to say on that one, Ko?
No, that's pretty much it, man. As far as the referees, but one thing I'll add, just as a bonus last take here to the Commanders fans, RELAX. Okay, relax, y'all. Okay, yeah, we lost to the Steelers. This isn't the old skins, y'all. Just relax. We're not going to win all the games. At this pace, we're going to make the playoffs. People were saying, "Oh, we didn't even show up, and we're winning, and why did the Steelers, outweigh us at the stadium?" I'm like, well, first of all, the Steelers are the number one traveling team in the league. They travel well. It is what it is. They're spread across nationwide. It is what it is. Now, only thing I would combat is when the schedule came out early last year. We're still thinking we're the typical old Redskins. So people weren't expecting this to happen this year. So the Steelers bought up all the tickets. Now, next year, I expect a better turnout when it comes to the fan turnout. People just aren't convinced. They're not ready to really believe. I get it. So again, the tickets were put on the market before we even knew what we had this year. So going into next year, I expect to see a lot more sellouts. But all I got to say to the Skins fans right now, RELAX. Relax.
I like it. Taking a page out of prime Aaron Rodgers, but because Aaron Rodgers can't say that right now. Like,
No.
he can't say that with the Jets right now, but prime Aaron Rodgers could say that, and he was absolutely right. And we've got Jaden's not even in his prime, but we have a quarterback that everybody believes in. And I think we have a quarterback that, if you say relax, I think fans can actually relax. I've seen a couple fans say, even from last week to this week, they're not worried. And I was surprised because what they're saying is they trust Jaden. He's so cool. He's so calm. I think Jaden said going into the Eagles game, he mentioned just, that the Eagles have a passionate fan base and he's looking forward to going to the stadium. And one of the NFL Network analysts said, she would be worried if their quarterback said they were anxious about a stadium. But she said she's not worried about Jaden Daniels because he is cool, calm, and collected. And he prepares. I think you don't have to be nervous if you prepare. There's nothing to be nervous about. I prepared. I did my part. I did my job. Now I just got to show up and do my job. So I think you make a great point about where we are. Like you said, we're ahead of schedule. We're 7-3 out of 10 games. We got 2 games versus Dallas, 2 games versus Philly. If we can split versus Philly and take both games versus Dallas, that's 10 wins right there.
Boom.
Not to say, and we still have other games to play. So the Commanders are in great shape. It's a great time to be a fan. Don't let the trauma of years past hold you back from loving your team and enjoying. Definitely enjoy where we are and just embrace it. So I completely agree with that last take.
Anything else?
But go ahead.
I said anything else? What you got for your last take?
So for my last take, I just wanted to talk about the status of NFL contracts. So one thing I've noticed and one thing that I've talked about is quarterback contracts in the league. We spoke about it a little bit earlier today, but I just wanted to talk about the teams that are doing well, how you build a team and how you build a successful team. So to me, the number one way to build a successful team is to have a top 5 quarterback. But how many top 5 quarterbacks do we have in the league? Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Let's give it to Josh Allen. I'll even give it to Joe Burrow. I'll say we have 4 top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And these are guys that can change the game for the team. It doesn't matter who the receiver is. It doesn't matter who the running backs are. These are guys that can just get it done. The guys outside of that 4 or 5, they really need to be taking contracts that are team friendly. And I think you see players like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins. These are guys that are taking top 5 quarterback pay, but they're not producing top 5 results. Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott have the same amount of playoff wins, if I'm not mistaken, I know it's no more than 2, but I think they both have 1 playoff win. That's not going to get it done, and you can't build a team like that. When you look at the new way that teams are building a successful team, you look at what the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson, and I think that's what the Commanders are trying to do with Jaden Daniels, and what the Bears are trying to do with Caleb Williams. The Broncos are trying to do with Bo Nix. You build off the rookie quarterback contract. That contract is locked in for 4 or 5 years, and when you have that type of contract, if you have a special player, you can really build a team. So my last take is mostly this. I would like to see NFL teams get more creative when it comes to NFL contracts. I would like to see teams get away from the confirmation bias that we hold for regular white quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence that get paid before they should. And I would like us to focus on building teams. The Ravens paid Lamar Jackson, but they also kept enough money to be able to pay Derrick Henry. You can see the effect that it has on their team. The Ravens have lost players, but they're still able to every year get players that they need. Tom Brady is the best example of building a team around you. And he would tell his owner, I'll take less money so we can build a team. So I can have Randy Moss. So I can have Antonio Brown. So I can have an extra defender. So I can have a better offensive line. It's how you build a team. And NFL teams have to be more creative. These GMs are making millions of money. Let's go to the Giants GM, and his son is able to make a better play than him. His son told him, go get Jaden Daniels. His son told him, don't trade Saquon Barkley. What are you making millions of dollars for? Let me do the job. I'll do it for $100,000. I'll do it for $500,000. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me where we are in the league. And you can just see the league transitioning. You can see the analytics are starting to take over. But if you don't understand the game, you're not going to understand the analytics. If you don't understand defense wins championships, if you don't understand clock management, if you don't understand a possession receiver versus a quick receiver, you're not going to build a successful team. And I just see it too often in the league. I see teams that are built with running backs that don't suit the offense, receivers that don't suit the offense, or, I'll go to the Saints. The Saints have Alvin Kamara. They're using him this week, but then on 4th down, they put Taysom Hill in the game.
Yeah, I don't get crap like that.
The teams are not they're not all on the same page. And when you look at the Commanders, you see a team that's on the same page. The GM is working with the coach. When you looked at draft day, I think Dan Quinn told them to go get Johnny Newton. And look at how great Johnny Newton is playing for us. Again, he made a rookie mistake on Sunday, but we'll take that. That's a rookie mistake. He's a rookie. He's been playing great we'll take that rookie mistake because that's what comes with the rookie. But again, the coach said, I like this player. The GM made it happen. The coach was on board with Jaden Daniels. The GM made it happen. So yeah, that's just my take. I would like to see better team building in the NFL. I would like to see them be more creative. Let's get away from, we got to get the savior QB to save the franchise. Yes, you need a good QB, but if the QB is not top 5, don't pay him top 5 money. Rebuild. Trust the process. Take your time. Like the Commanders, and that's why I say again, the best thing the Commanders could have done was let Kirk Cousins walk. If we would have kept Kirk Cousins, what has Kirk Cousins done since he's left? 1 playoff win. Yeah. That's not we play to win the game.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, and I think we're much better off having Jaden Daniels. I would have liked to see the Commanders go after Mike Williams or DeAndre Hopkins because again we lost to the Steelers. We lost to the Steelers because they made the addition that we didn't make, and we know we need receiver help. And to see these receivers going for 4th round, 5th round picks, man, give that pick up. I'm sorry, give it get a free agent next year instead of the draft pick. We still have 7 draft picks next year. Use one of those picks and get a receiver right now, because the way this team is looking, who knows? Like, who knows how far we can go? So we're building the team, like you said, let's relax, but let's also see what we can do. I think if we don't go far, I definitely don't have any expectations. Everything from here is a plus. We've already crossed what I thought we could do. So, like I said, everything from here is a plus. I'm happy with how the Commanders are building their teams, but as far as the other teams in the league, I would really like to see them be a little bit more creative. I like what. Let me say some teams I like. Let me mention a few teams that I like what they're doing. I like what the Falcons are doing, bringing in Kirk Cousins, because you've already drafted pieces. And even though they overpaid for Kirk, I think they were at the place where they just needed a quarterback. I think that's when you overpay.
Yeah.
I also like them bringing in Michael Penix, the rookie. I think that was a really good rookie, and now you kind of start that the process that the Packers had. We have our quarterback for now. We also have our quarterback for the future. I like what the what's another team that's doing good? The Vikings. Sam Darnold. They brought in Sam Darnold at a little bit lower rate. We can re-sign Justin Jefferson. We can bring in Aaron Jones, and we can draft Mike McCarthy. So we've got a quarterback for now. We have our quarterback for the future. We still have a good defense. We still have great playmakers. These teams are set up for success. And you just see too many other teams that are not. The Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what we're doing. Jacksonville Jaguars. Why are we overpaying Trevor Lawrence? He hasn't done anything. So yeah, those are just a couple teams that I like and don't like. But I would like to see the league get a little bit more creative with the contracts. Lean a little bit further away from just the quarterback taking 30 to 40% of the contract. And again, if you're Mahomes, if you're Lamar Jackson, you deserve it. You're a dynamic player. You can make your team better without a playmaker on your team. But if you want to win championships, I'm pretty sure the Chiefs would prefer to have Tyreek Hill still in the Chiefs uniform. I'm sure the Chiefs would prefer to have, I think, Snead, the cornerback that they had last year. And if that means Patrick Mahomes takes $5 million less, I'm pretty sure looking back, I'm pretty sure he does it in a heartbeat to keep Tyreek in that team. So,
I think that's a really great take, man. Like the quarterbacks, like you said, they're a bulk of the cap, and history shows when you pay the quarterback that big money, they typically don't win, mainly because the person you're paying isn't one of those top tier quarterbacks to begin with. Then you set yourself up for failure by you can't re-sign anybody else because now you don't have the money. And what the winning formula is, like you mentioned, is you got to win while the quarterback is on that rookie contract. And just like how they capped the rookie contracts, like back in the day, they, what was his name? Sam Bradford.
He was the last one to get that big.
The last one to get those big rookie deals. He got like a $60 million deal, and then they capped the rookie contracts to like $25 million. Maybe they should incorporate that a little bit more with the other contracts as well, and maybe that can kind of help leverage against killing your roster when you overpay these guys. But the issue is this: these quarterbacks and players, not just quarterbacks, a lot of these players, they're timing it perfectly. And what I mean by that is they're waiting to their 4th year or their 5th year option to ball out. And then they get paid, and now they're locked in, and then that's it. Like, great example, Daron Payne. He was in a contract year. He ended up having a career year, and we paid him, and he hasn't done anything remotely like he did in the past 2 seasons.
No, I like Daron, man. I like Daron.
I like Daron too. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is he had a career year, ironically, in his contract year. And yet,
No,
you see what I'm saying? So
I agree with
they,
that. I agree with
yeah,
that.
it's like they do that intentionally or unintentionally. I don't know, but it's just ironic that the last year you're under contract, now all of a sudden you're balling out. Then you get the big contract and then you don't produce. But from the quarterback standpoint, it's like, hey, look, it is what it is. You need a quarterback, whether they're a game manager or whether they're an elite quarterback. Either way, you got to pay them. But when you do, if they're not taking a hometown discount, or if you're not extending their contract before their fourth or fifth year, then you're going to paint yourself into a corner. And what the problem is, these GMs, they're scared to pull the trigger because they don't want to commit that money. And I get it, but in actuality, if you think about it, like you said, there's only really 4 quarterbacks that are worth that money, and everybody else is kind of hit or miss. So it's either you do what the Cardinals did, where they drafted Josh Rosen, gave him 2 years, he sucked, and then they went and got Kyler Murray, or you go try to get somebody off the waiver wire like Sam Darnold, or what have you, and see if you can try your luck with that, or the luck of the draw, like with us, and we get a quarterback in the draft. But it's hit or miss, but they definitely got to do something, man, because the running backs aren't getting any money because of that as well. I think that's a big thing as well. But definitely
And
a great
that's
take there, sir. Anything else?
yeah. Yeah, I'll just add. I think that's my big issue is we can see the impact that these running backs are having. Like the Eagles aren't having the season that they're having without Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens aren't having the season that they're having without Derrick Henry. Now again, they can win, but the point is to win a championship. The Ravens are a much heavier favorite with Derrick Henry. The Eagles are a much heavier favorite with Saquon Barkley. The offensive line, like the Lions' offensive line, you're not doing what you're doing without that offensive line. I think we mentioned the Commanders' offensive line. The Commanders' offensive line is honestly doing a great job, and I think they signed Sam Cosmi before
Mm-hmm.
the year.
Yep.
Nick Allegretti is doing a great job. Wiley, they signed from the Chiefs. He's been filling in really well. Brandon Coleman, the rookie
Coleman.
that
Yep.
they signed. Again, that's an investment in pieces that the quarterback need. The quarterback is the most dependent position. Of course, they're the most important, but they're also the most dependent. If that offensive line, we saw what the Steelers did against the Commanders this week. The Steelers, when they rushed that line, they were getting through Jaden Daniels. Just he didn't look like his normal self because he's not used to that type of pressure. Let's just be honest. The offensive line has really performed well for him, and we can't lose that. We can't lose at Brian Robinson. We can see how that running back impacts the team, and if we have to say, all right, well, now we're going to lose at Brian Robinson, that's going to have an impact on our offense. Those are the type of things that I hope the team is taking note of. And I hope other teams are taking note of because, again, for the Giants to let Saquon walk, like you said, you understand it. It's a business. We've already paid Danny Dimes, so we kind of already put ourselves in a corner of how many options what we can do, as far as our options are concerned. But you got to get creative. The Cowboys didn't even try to talk to Derrick Henry.
Yeah. They just said we ain't got the money, so we're not even going to entertain.
You got to get creative. You got to be better than that. You get paid millions of dollars. You better pick up the damn phone, call some agents. What can we do? Like, this will be my last thing. Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers, and I don't know if we can do this in the league, but why can't we? Shohei Ohtani's third contract.
Yeah,
I think he's getting like $1 million a year, but the $700 million that he signed is not going to come to the end. The NFL might get into it. Now, this might be where I get heavy and go into a different depth. The NFL and the NBA have caps. Well, why do we even have caps? LeBron should be a billionaire. LeBron is worth way more than they're even paying him. The NFL is the highest earning league in America. Like, maybe it's not the problem that the quarterbacks are making too much money. Maybe we need to hire a better cap, and I guess that's where the NFLPA comes in,
Yeah.
because they do have to negotiate these contracts with the TV contracts and things of that nature. But if I'm a player, my real thing is, why do we even have caps?
Yeah.
Man, give us that money. We're the product. Give us that money.
Well, I mean, just to play advocate for it, I'm okay with the cap. I think they just need to do some more restructuring to have like tiers, because think about it. If there was no cap, can you imagine what Dan Snyder would have did? I mean, you saw what he did in '98 with the $100 million team. He signed Dion and Dana Stubblefield and Bruce Smith and Moses and
Yeah, we'd be
Aaron and
banking.
Jacob from the Old Testament. I mean, he signed everybody. But could you
Yeah,
imagine who else he would have signed if he had no cap?
yeah. We
So
we, we would have probably gone bankrupt and had to sell the team. Like the team would be
yeah,
moving to
yeah,
a whole different city.
yeah. So I think what they need to do is, just like with the rookie contracts, there needs to be like a cap or a threshold. And if there is going to be a deal where they're going above that threshold, then it needs to be above the year threshold as well. Like you can't give someone 4 5 years 250 million. It's got to be 10 years, something like that. Players may not like it. I get it, but Tom Brady is like, to your point, he's the greatest example of, look, I want to win games. I want to win championships. I already got my money. I got endorsements. All of my contracts have been fully guaranteed. Some of these guys, it shows that they're out for the money and not for the love of the game. Tim Duncan, a great example of that as well. There's seldom players that they just want to play. They don't care about the money.
They
But
want to
for those
win.
that
Not just
do,
play. They want to win.
yeah, they want to win. But for those that want to get paid, I get it. You're putting your body on the line.
Yeah,
They can
I am
cut you
mad.
at a moment's notice. Get your money. I'm
Yeah,
not going to knock that. But
yeah.
you can't ask for a max contract and then get mad when your team sucks. Like Dak Prescott's talking about, we effing suck. Well, that's because of you, bro. They didn't
Devontae
sign nobody
Adams.
because you took all the damn money.
Devontae
So
Adams. You left Aaron Rodgers to go to the Raiders, who you knew were trash, and then start complaining when Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback. Why'd
right,
you leave Rodgers? To get
right.
paid. So stop complaining.
Right. And actually, Aaron Rodgers, he maxed his contract out. And people were like, oh, Devontae couldn't stay because Aaron maxed his contract. I'm like, no, that's not true. They offered him the same situation like Dallas with CeeDee Lamb and Dak. They were going to give both of them max contracts. But for some odd reason, Devontae wanted to go play with Derek Carr. He got his max contract. He went to a cut team, and the rest is history. So, again, I get it. Get your paper because they'll cut you faster than your head can spin. So I have no knocks on that, but you can't complain when your team's not performing because of that. But
Exactly.
that's all we got there. Brodies, we definitely appreciate you hanging in. This was an extended version here of Brody Sports Talk. We had a lot to cover, but if you're not following us, again, you need to follow us on Brody Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube. Go ahead and click on that bottom right-hand corner and subscribe. Go on TikTok and Instagram and hit the follow button. But from here, yours truly is the Lord Co-Word, my main man, J-WIGG. We're signing off here. We'll see you next week. All right, Brody.
Peace.
Peace.